How many bad things did this guy do to accumulate so much wealth? Lucas said with a shocked face. 1.3 billion Baileys, this is definitely a very shocking number. Although it is always heard in anime that so-and-so pirate is offering a bounty of hundreds of millions or billions, it does not mean that it is easy to make money in pirate world. In the pirate world, like ordinary civilians, they can earn about 100,000 Baileys in a year. Just like in the anime, when the Arlong pirates attacked Nami in their village, it was not just for hundreds of thousands of Baileys. Is it profitable and forced to desperate? This is the most true manifestation. Belit has been a pirate for more than 10 years, but he became the captain of the pirate group. In fact, it has only been a few years. In a few years, he has raided more than 1 billion Baileys. It is absolutely amazing. In New World, there are probably very few pirates who can achieve this kind of wealth. One can imagine how many bad things this Belite has done. After knowing the location of the treasure, Belit was useless, and Sakazuki did not continue to torture him, but directly gave him a break and let his men kill him. Because the Belit pirates have always been looting in the Bordeaux waters, Belit placed his treasures in this waters, but each location is different, some are more and some are less. In the next period of time, Sakazuki and the others began to look for the treasures that Belit said in the Bordeaux waters. For more than a month, Sakazuki stayed in the waters of Bordeaux and executed many pirate groups during this period. Basically, there was no life left. Every time when he was going to kill him, Colonel Jeremy would come out. Bo exists, even if Sakazuki doesn't want to pay attention to him, he still thinks this guy is really annoying. In addition to Jeremy, this annoying guy, there is another thing that Sakazuki has been more annoying about recently, and that is the little girl he rescued from the Belit pirates. The little girl's mother entrusted her to Sakazuki before she died, so Sakazuki has been taking her with her since that day. The little girl's name is Lasana, a nice name. But it was this Lasana that made Sakazuki more annoyed, because he had no experience with children in his previous life or in this life, and he didn't know how to get along with children. Lasana was 8 years old and she was at a sensible age. She also knew that her mother was dead, so she kept silent when she was on the boat. Even if Sakazuki tried various methods, she could not let she spoke. Lasana is a very beautiful little girl. Such a little girl should have acted like a baby in the arms of her parents, but now she has become an orphan, and she is autistic, and even has an irreversible scar on her face. And it is precisely because of this that Sakazuki's resentment towards the pirate has increased. Within a month, Lasana became a lot thinner, and the medical soldiers also told Sakazuki that if this continues, it will leave a huge trauma in my heart. It is very likely that this will continue in the future, which makes he was very worried, so he felt that he should do something to prevent Lasana from shutting down like this. Since getting on the boat, Lasana has never left her room. Sakazuki will come to her room to talk to her every day, but she has never received a response. Today, he is going to come back cruelly. Lasana. Looking at the pale little girl curled up in the corner with her hands on her knees, Sakazuki came to her, her burly body covering the entire corner. Lasana just raised her head and glanced at Sakazuki, then lowered her head again. Those eyes made Sakazuki very uncomfortable, full of despair and silence. Such eyes shouldn't appear on a child at all. Your mother entrusted you to me, but you have to be clear. First, I'm a Marine Vice Admiral, and I don't always raise a waist. Look at what you are now. What is the difference with waist? Your mother was killed by a pirate. Yes, it was the pirate who made you the way you are now. Are you not angry or resentful at all? In order to arouse Lasana's anger, Sakazuki's tone was so heavy that she even started to swear, but it did have an effect. Lasana, who had never reacted to anything, trembled after hearing his words. Lasana, you should cheer up and do what you should do. The little girl raised her head and asked with tears, what should I do? Sakazuki said cruelly, killing the pirate is not only to avenge your mother, but also to avoid another person like you who became orphaned because of the pirate in the future. Lasana is only 8 years old, but the children who have gone through life and death are obviously much more mature than ordinary children. After hearing Sakazuki's words, her eyes clearly flashed with light. How should I do? Sakazuki said solemnly, from today, I will be your teacher. You learn from me, join Marine, and eliminate the pirates, but before that, you eat it first. A fruit with a spiral pattern. Good. Without the slightest hesitation, Lasana took the fruit and ate it. The moment she ate it, her expression became very ugly, but she quickly recovered. Her reaction was not like a child at all. More like a mature adult, but seeing her cheer up, Sakazuki knows that her goal has been achieved. It seems that I have to breed another Marine soldier with extreme thinking. From Lasana's hateful gaze, he knew that as long as the future Lasana learned the ability, She would definitely be incompatible with the pirates, but in her opinion, it was also a good thing. As for the fruit he gave to Lasana, he got it from Belit's treasure by accident. As for why Belit didn't eat such a devil fruit, he didn't understand it. Perhaps it was Bailey. I want to exchange it for money. Since Lasana cheered up, Sakazuki had another task, which was to teach her. At the beginning, he only taught Lasana simple training. After all, she was just a little girl and couldn't bear a lot of training. The most important thing for her now is to lay a solid foundation. The soldiers on the warship also knew that Lasana was accepted as a disciple by Sakazuki, and many people were very envious. Sakazuki was Marine Vice Admiral and an Admiral candidate. If he could become his disciple, he would surely be able to make progress in Marine. In a blink of an eye, another 2 months passed. In half a year, Sakazuki led the warship and swept almost the entire Bordeaux waters. A large number of pirates died under their hands, making the pirates of the entire Bordeaux waters. We either escaped from this sea area, or they were united together. To gather Admiral together today is an important announcement. On the deck of the warship, Sakazuki gathered everyone together, looked at everyone, and said slowly. It has been 4 months since we came to New World. During this time, everyone has eliminated the pirates and implemented justice. I am very satisfied. Everyone has been with me for so many years and has worked hard. Although I have never said anything, but from the bottom of my heart, I am very grateful to you all. Leaving aside the past, let's just say that now, Sakazuki has been with the group of soldiers under his command for so long, and he also knows the loyalty of these private soldiers to him, and at the same time knows the abilities of these people. In the process of removing the pirates for several months, I have also experienced a lot of battles, but none of these Marines died, and only a few people were injured. Whether it is individual combat strength or teamwork, it is very good. Maybe it's because I haven't encountered any really powerful big thief group, but it is undeniable that these people are excellent. When Sakazuki spoke, all the soldiers raised their heads upright. Everyone was very happy with his praise, because he had never praised him like this before. In the past few months, they have all felt themselves. The changes in the officers have become more humane and better for them. They are no longer just a relationship between the upper and lower levels as before. To gather everyone here today is mainly to make a summary. After a few months, we have wiped out thousands of pirates and helped countless civilians. I believe you are also proud of yourself. As a soldier, protecting civilians and eradicating pirates is our responsibility, but in the same way, we are also humans and need to live. Although eradicating pirates is a responsibility, we still have the necessary rewards. So far, we have paid about 2 billion Baileys from the hands of the pirates. This is a huge fortune, so I decided to draw half of these 2 billion Baileys as a reward for everyone. As soon as this was said, all the soldiers on the entire warship exclaimed, and the solemn atmosphere disappeared instantly. Everyone's eyes widened and looked at Sakazuki. Incredible. Half of 2 billion Baileys, isn't that 1 billion Baileys? They have a total of more than 500 people. If they are divided evenly, each person can at least get several million Baileys. How many years of service did they get the wealth? Ghost spiders, dragons and others all changed their faces and looked at Sakazuki in shock, because this behavior was so crazy, even they were shocked. Sakazuki Vice Admiral. A loud voice sounded, and Colonel Jeremy rushed out angrily and stood in front of Sakazuki. The wealth obtained from the pirates, no one has the right to distribute privately. It must be turned over to the headquarters, and then the headquarters will be rewarded according to the merits. If you act in this way, it is a blatant violation of military discipline, and you have to give out half of it. If you really dare to do this, your Vice Admiral's position will definitely not be preserved. Sakazuki's face suddenly became gloomy. He stared at Jeremy with cold eyes and said, "Don't use military discipline to suppress me. Although this action was ordered by Marshal Naval Headquarters, it was my private army. My people are fighting bloody battles to get rid of the pirates, and even forget their lives. What happened to me giving them a little reward?" Jeremy also said coldly, "Although they are your private army, they are also soldiers of Naval Headquarters. If you want to reward them, use your own money instead of the money that must be turned into the headquarters." The surrounding Marines all stared at Jeremy with angry eyes, because they were about to get a reward of millions of Baileys just now, but because of his prevention, it looks like they are going to be ruined now, so how can they not be angry? Not everyone can sacrifice themselves for justice. More Marines are ordinary people. They serve as soldiers for military expenses and for their families to live better. What is the premise? There is no doubt that it is money naturally. These Marines are Sakazuki's private army. They have higher quality than ordinary Marines, but they also have to live. Money is also important to them. As the deputy general, he is the most obvious person who can feel the changes in Sakazuki. But Sakazuki decided on this matter without discussing it with him. He was also very surprised because the nature of this matter is indeed very serious, according to the regulations of naval headquarters. In order to eradicate the wealth obtained by the pirates, the relevant personnel do not have the right to deal with it privately, and must be turned over to the headquarters. Some people may covet the wealth and leave a part of it privately, but like Sakazuki, who blatantly used the wealth to reward the soldiers under his command, naval headquarters has never appeared before. If it spreads out, it will definitely cause shock. As expected, Sakazuki, you are not a person who obeys the rules. Long was not very surprised by Sakazuki's decision. On the contrary, he still agreed, because some of the rules of naval headquarters are indeed relatively stale. Soldiers fought bloody battles, but the final gains could not match what they paid, and a large amount of wealth was turned over. Where did you go after that? Others may not know it, but Long understands very well that only a small part of the wealth after turning over remains in naval headquarters and becomes naval headquarters military expenses, but more is turned over to the world government and become those on the Holy Land Mariajoy. A wealth of pleasure for the nobles. Marine's military discipline system is still relatively strict. Behaviors like Sakazuki have indeed never occurred before. Even if they do, they are done secretly in private. Ordinary soldiers cannot enjoy this treatment. After all, Sakazuki hasn't been in this world for too long. He hasn't fully understood the various regulations in Marine. This time he just wanted to reward and inspire the soldiers under his command. He didn't expect to become what he is now. But he had already said his words, and if Jeremy were to stop him in this way, His Majesty would surely be damaged. On the one hand, there is a possibility of punishment from naval headquarters. On the other hand, it is related to his image and majesty in the eyes of his soldiers. He decided it almost instantly. The chill in his eyes became more and more severe. Looking at Jeremy, Sakazuki had a strong killing intent in his heart. Sakazuki Vice Admiral, Colonel Jeremy. At this moment, the ghost spider suddenly stood up. He walked between the two of them, winked at Sakazuki, and then said to Jeremy, "Colonel Jeremy, don't worry, we will discuss it." With that, he walked to Jeremy's ear and said a few words, causing Jeremy's face to change constantly, and then he was half pulled into the cabin. Seeing how the ghost spider did, Sakazuki understood what he meant, and then said to all the soldiers on the warship, "Guys, don't worry, what I've said will count. I'll talk to your colonels for specific rewards. For detailed formulation, you only need to remember one sentence and follow me, and you will never be disappointed." What's the matter? At night, the ghost spider came to Sakazuki's room, and Sakazuki asked directly. Ghost spider looked serious, and said solemnly, "This Jeremy Lion opens his mouth and costs 20% of the hush fee, otherwise, he will poke this matter to the top." Humph. Sakazuki snorted coldly. He was not surprised by the answer. Since the ghost spider was able to pull Jeremy away, he knew that this person was not completely out of duty to oppose, but wanted to obtain benefits. Now it seems that it is so. The ghost spider said, "Sakazuki Vice Admiral, in fact, this time you did act a little impulsively. Even if you want to be rewarded, you can reward it privately. There is no need to be so open and direct." Sakazuki was silent. The ghost spider was his lieutenant, so he said these things to him, and he himself understood that he did this thing impulsively and did not consider the consequences, but he did not regret it. Now that these are not important, the soldiers follow me, and I can't treat them badly. The ghost spider also understands his character, so he said, "Since I have already said it, it must not be taken back. There are only two options now, or to agree to Jeremy's request. Although he has paid a little, he will not be stabbed at least. To the top, or just a little bit more simply and give him to." The ghost spider did not finish, but Sakazuki already understood what he meant. He frowned and said, "I have no problem with killing, but this Jeremy is also a colonel after all. If only because of political disagreement, he will kill. It's a bit too much if he's gone, and he's from Zephyr. If he died alone, anyone would think something was wrong." Ghost Spider said, "Indeed, he is an inspector. If he is killed alone, it will indeed make people suspect, unless we are willing to let some people be buried with him." Sakazuki categorically said, "Absolutely not, none of our people can die, so you go and tell him, I agree to give him 10%, but he can't tell Zephyr and others about this, and he will have to follow We Stand on the United Front." The Ghost Spider nodded and said, "I know what to do. If he doesn't agree, then we can only do something cruel." Ghost Spider is definitely a cruel master. He is Sakazuki's lieutenant. Everything is based on Sakazuki's interests. What's more, the soldiers are trained by him personally. Naturally, he also hopes that they will get more benefits. Now the ship does not belong to him. Only Jeremy and Dragon are his own. Dragon's words are okay. He believes Sakazuki will be able to do it, so he only needs to do Jeremy. The action of the ghost spider was indeed very fast. On the next day, Jeremy took the initiative to find Sakazuki. I have already considered it, Jeremy said directly to Sakazuki. Sakazuki asked, what decision did you make? Jeremy said, as long as you get 10% of the benefits you get in the future, I promise you that I will never betray you in the future, and I will not tell other people any news that is unfavorable to you. Sakazuki sneered, you are a smart man. Jeremy said in a deep voice, I know you must already know who I am, but as you said, we soldiers also need to live, and I won't get any real benefits from you. If you follow you, I can get more benefits. More importantly, what you did was not to betray Marine. What is my psychological burden? Sakazuki's eyes narrowed, and I have to say that although this Jeremy is very greedy, he is indeed witty. Okay, it's so decided, but say it in advance, if you dare to betray me in the future. Jeremy said immediately. I'm absolutely impossible to do this kind of harm to others, and with your strength and ability, it's a matter of time before you get promoted to admiral. Unless my brain is broken, how can I do it? Betrayal. No one can believe that Jeremy, who had been confronting Sakazuki in awe-inspiring way before, would turn back so easily for the sake of profit, but it is not surprising to think carefully about the 10% of the profit. After all, it is quite a few billion Bailey. The wages of avarice is death. Failed to use the loyalty card. Really? Sakazuki sneered in his heart. After using the loyalty card to Jeremy, he failed unexpectedly. This showed that Jeremy did not have the slightest loyalty to him, and promised him only for profit. One more question. I heard that you are also a disciple of Zephyr Admiral, so you must know the contradiction between me and him. Did you come to me as an inspector? Was he instructed? Unexpectedly, Jeremy immediately shook his head and said, no, this is not Teacher Zephyr's instigation, but we decided in private, so that we can find your handle and help Teacher Zephyr vent our anger. Such an answer is somewhat unexpected, but it is reasonable to think about it carefully. Although Zephyr is in conflict with him, he is still a Marine Admiral after all, and he is also the general instructor of teaching and educating. Naturally, it is impossible to be so tempered, and the means could not be so obvious, and a student was sent out to monitor him. As for what Jeremy said about them, he didn't need to think about it. They must be the disciples taught by Zephyr. Among the naval headquarters, Zephyr has the most disciples. It is only natural that these people want to help him out. That Jeremy got it done. On the deck of the warship, Ryu and Sakazuki leaned on the side of the ship and looked at the sea. Ryu asked. Sakazuki nodded and said, yeah. Long Dao. Don't worry, I will not betray you, and I think what you did is right. Rather than handing over to those above, it is better to leave it to your own soldiers, so that the soldiers will have no worries, and they will be able to let them die. Allegiance. Sakazuki did not speak. Of course he knew that the dragon could not betray him, and he was not afraid that the dragon would betray him, because the dragon itself did not really stay in the marine, and no one knew the future of the dragon better than him. You said, in this world, is trust between people more important, or interest is more important? Is there still the purest trust between people? Long suddenly asked with emotion. Sakazuki looked at the dragon in surprise, and said quietly, many people do some bad things for profit, but there is still trust between people, but who can tell this kind of thing? Long Dao. Yes, who can tell? After all, the world has been distorted. If you want to change, you can only change it fundamentally. Sakazuki didn't answer the conversation, and the dragon didn't continue speaking. The two of them just stood quietly. Sakazuki Vice Admiral, the headquarters issued an urgent order. Suddenly Lucas and the ghost spider came to Sakazuki and handed him a printed document. Sakazuki took the file and looked at it seriously. After he finished reading it, his face suddenly became very serious. What happened? Long asked. Sakazuki said solemnly, the big thing, this is an urgent order from Marshal Sora. No matter what we are doing, we must execute the order immediately. Looking at Sakazuki's serious expression, Long asked seriously, what the hell is going on? Sakazuki said, the Marine branch of New World is in big trouble. They encountered the Whitebeard pirates when they were conquering the pirates. They were all defeated by the Whitebeard pirates. The Marine Vice Admiral of the G1 branch was captured by the Whitebeard pirates. The Marshal ordered us to join the G5 branch, Kuzan, Paluzolino and others, and must rescue Harrington Vice Admiral from the Whitebeard pirates. How could Harrington Vice Admiral of the G1 branch be caught by the Whitebeard pirates? Hearing Sakazuki's words, the dragon suddenly appeared shocked, because the news was also very surprised to him. "Are you familiar with Harrington Vice Admiral?" Sakazuki asked. "The marine branches of New World are different from those in the first half of Sea High and Grand Line. They belong directly to Naval Headquarters, and the rank of generals is the same as Naval Headquarters." Sakazuki knows that Marine has several powerful ones in New World branch, but don't know much about them. Long Shen said. Harrington Vice Admiral was once the deputy of Marshal Sora. Since Marshal Sora took the position of Marshal Marine, he has served as the general of Marine G1 branch, leading the G1 branch against the pirates of New World. Even if it is placed in the headquarters, his ability ranks in the forefront of all Vice Admiral. He is a respectable veteran. Even my father respects him very much. Who is Garp? That is a man called Marine Hero. Among Marine, his status is definitely not worse than Marine Admiral, and he also leads the Marine G3 branch. He is an absolutely powerful figure. He respects it, which is enough to explain the status of the Harrington Vice Admiral. After listening to Long's explanation, Sakazuki finally understood why Sora didn't say anything, so he had to save Harrington. It turned out not only because Harrington was his former lieutenant, but also it is also because of the identity and status of this Harrington. If such a person dies, it will definitely be a very fatal blow to the New World Marine branch. It is reasonable, and as a Marine Marshal, it is absolutely impossible to ignore it. But the opponent is the Whitebeard Pirates, Ghost Spider said solemnly. Yes, if it's okay for others to say, it's the Whitebeard Pirates who captured Harrington. As the only surviving Whitebeard among the 3 legendary pirates, he stands on the pinnacle of the pirates and is called by many people for the strongest man in the world. Wanting to save people from Whitebeard's hands, it's ugly, it's not much simpler than going to the sky. Long asked. In addition to this order, does the Marshal have any other orders? For example, how did Harrington get caught by the Whitebeard Pirates? Whitebeard should be very clear about Harrington's importance to Naval Headquarters. I will definitely not make this decision lightly, and if you want to grab someone from Whitebeard, it may be difficult for us to do it alone. These people, Sakazuki, Kuzan, Paluzolino, are Vice Admiral from the Marine G5 branch, are all the younger generations of Whitebeard. If you want to deal with Whitebeard, you need at least older generations like Sengoku and Garp. Figure. The Ghost Spider said, it is not so easy to send news from Marineford the first time. Marineford is very far away from New World. Even if it is a phone worm, it is difficult to get in touch at the first time. It is also because of the emergency that the emergency order was issued. What should we do? The eyes of several people fell on Sakazuki's body. Sakazuki said solemnly, since it was an urgent order from the head marshal, we naturally have no reason to refuse. We immediately turned around and headed towards the Marine G5 branch. Sora let them gather together, but the 3 of them are all experienced in New World, and there is no designated place to stay, so Sakazuki chose the destination as the G5 branch. He believes that Kuzan and Paluzolino will definitely do it too. Thought of this. At the same time, tell the people under you that there may be a tough battle next, so that everyone is ready, and their rewards will be distributed immediately. Remember, it is all the 2 billion Baileys, except for Jerry the 200 million of the rice. The rest will be distributed according to the credit, so that they can explain everything before the battle. Whitebeard is not so easy to deal with, even Sakazuki and the others. Once they fight the Whitebeard Pirates, they may die at any time, let alone these ordinary soldiers. Even if they are the elite, they are facing the world's #1 Whitebeard Pirates, so they must be prepared to die in battle, and this wealth may also be the last fortune in life. For his own people, Sakazuki is naturally not. Will be stingy. Yes. The Ghost Spider also knew that the situation was serious, so he didn't have time to think about other things, and immediately followed Sakazuki's orders. Unexpectedly, I didn't have much time when I first came to New World, and I would face the biggest pirate in the world today. Long said with emotion, but he didn't mean to be nervous or afraid. On the contrary, he was a little eager to try. Although the #1 pirate in the world is only a pirate, not everyone is qualified to see it, let alone with it. It's an enemy. Sakazuki's eyes also flashed light. It was Whitebeard. He had seen Roger and Golden Lion. The power of these 2 people shocked him, but when he saw Roger, Roger was not at his peak, Golden Lion. He was just watching the battle from a distance. And in his previous One Piece anime, Whitebeard has existed for a longer time, especially the battle at the top of the war, which showed the horror of Whitebeard, but that was already Whitebeard in his twilight years, and Whitebeard at this time was the peak moment, so to face Whitebeard like this, the pressure is naturally very high. The above order has been issued, we have to do it anyway, and don't you want to see this legendary pirate up close? The corner of Long's mouth smiled and said, After you say so, I really look forward to it. Because it was an urgent order, Sakazuki and the others rushed to the Marine G5 branch as quickly as possible. When they arrived at the Marine G5 branch, the other two, Kuzan and Pelusalino, had also arrived here. This was the first time the three of them met in New World. Originally, the three of them were all sent by Sora to the New World to experience. Each had its own goals and naturally avoided each other consciously. If it weren't for this time because the incident was too tricky, they wouldn't gather here at the same time. The G5 branch is the Marine branch that only exists in New World 20 years later, that is, the branch led by Smoker after being promoted to Vice Admiral 2 years after the Top War, but the G5 branch at that time has become an outlier. The Marine, completely out of the control of Naval Headquarters, behaves nonchalantly, and has no discipline at all. But the Marine G5 branch today is completely different from more than 20 years later. They are an absolutely elite branch, and they are also the elites used by Naval Headquarters to deter the New World pirates. From top to bottom, they are selected by the headquarters. The leader is also Vice Admiral selected from Naval Headquarters, Hunting Knife, Claude. Hunting Knife. Claude Vice Admiral is also well known in New World. He is also a hawk in Marine. He absolutely hates pirates. The title of Hunting Knife is because he enjoys hunting pirates, plus it uses a huge machete to hunt pirates like a hunter, so it is called a hunting knife. Sakazuki, you are here too. Claude and Sakazuki graduated from Naval Headquarters in the same period. Claude is a few years older than him, but because they agree with each other, their relationship is very good. Claude. By hitting the ghost spider and others, Sakazuki also knew that he had an unusual relationship with Claude, so after seeing Claude, he clapped hands with Claude very friendly, and shook hands heavily. Claude was full of scumbags. He was a little over 2 meters tall, and he looked very fierce and domineering. Especially the huge machete behind his back was actually taller than his entire body. Claude laughed and said, I haven't seen you for a few years. I heard that you have become an admiral candidate. Tisk tisk, it seems that you will be able to become admiral soon. Compared to you, I am a far cry from being a vice admiral. It's the end. You are too humble. It can be seen that Claude really has a very good relationship with him, so Sakazuki also relaxed. If you didn't ask for an active transfer, maybe you would become an admiral candidate faster than me. Claude laughed and said, what you said is too false. Compared to a monster like you, I am still far behind. He and Sakazuki are in the same period, so he is very clear about how pervert this period is. He is far from it, but his evaluation of himself is a bit self-respecting. As an incompetent, he relies on his talent and hard work, step by step to reach the current position. Put it in Naval Headquarters, it is definitely very good. Have both Kuzan and Pelusalino arrived? Sakazuki asked. Claude said. The two of them are closer than you, so they have already arrived. They are now in the base. When you arrive, they will start to discuss countermeasures and how to act. After all, the other party is the Whitebeard pirate group. Go and meet them. When seeing Kuzan and Pelusalino, Sakazuki found that both of them were filled with a strong suffocation. It is conceivable that both of them were also stained with a lot of blood this time. When Kuzan and Pelusalino saw Sakazuki, they only greeted Sakazuki and didn't have much enthusiasm. Although they are colleagues, they are also in a competitive relationship. Naturally, they cannot be as friendly as Sakazuki and Claude. Because it is the base of the G5 branch, even though Sakazuki and Pelusalino are both Marine Admiral candidates, it is Claude who sits in the main position. The three of you are all temporarily received urgent orders from Naval Headquarters, so you don't know much about this incident, right? Pelusalino asked. I only know that Harrington Vice Admiral was captured by the Whitebeard pirates, but what is going on? Harrington Vice Admiral should not provoke the Whitebeard pirates for no reason. Group. Marine eradicating pirates is a matter of course, but you must do what you can. The Whitebeard pirate group has always been one of the strongest pirate groups in New World. After Roger and Golden Lion disappeared, it became the veritable first pirate group, Marine G1. Although the strength of the branch is not weak, even Marine Admiral Sengoku can barely fight Whitebeard, and Harrington and Vice Admiral cannot fail to understand this truth. Claude said. I have found the remnants of Harrington's troops and know what's going on. In fact, this time confronting the Whitebeard pirates was not the intention of Harrington's Vice Admiral. It was completely an accident. The cause of the matter is also very simple. Harrington Vice Admiral was originally hunting a pirate, but who knew that this pirate actually joined the Whitebeard pirates and became the captain of the Whitebeard pirates. To capture the pirate named Azong, Whitebeard appeared, and Harrington Vice Admiral resisted with all his strength, but it turned out. Speaking of this, Claude couldn't help sighing. In his opinion, this incident was indeed an accident. Who would have thought it would be so coincidental? If I had known that Azong had joined the Whitebeard pirates, Harrington surely not so reckless. But presumably Whitebeard also recognized that Harrington Vice Admiral was once the lieutenant of Marshal Sky, so he did not kill him, and also spared other ordinary soldiers, saying that he wanted to return to Harrington Vice Admiral. Just look at us. The way it is. Because the other party is the Whitebeard pirates, so even if we have received the news, we dare not act rashly. First, the Whitebeard pirates are not easy to deal with, and secondly, they are worried that they will be disadvantageous to Harrington Vice Admiral. Sakazuki asked, "What is the opinion of the headquarters?" Claude smiled bitterly. The Marshal meant to rescue Harrington Vice Admiral, but the problem is that Sengoku Admiral has another important task and cannot get away from New World to negotiate with Whitebeard, so he asked us to find a way to talk to Whitebeard. Negotiations. The premise is that Harrington Vice Admiral must be rescued, and it must not give in like a pirate. Upon hearing this, the three of Sakazuki frowned, and Paluzolino cried out even more strangely. That's hard to do. We can't let us fight against the Whitebeard pirates, right? Those of us. Although he is very confident of himself, it is also a division of people. Naval Headquarters does not send a large force to let them fight with the Whitebeard pirates. It is indeed hopeless to see it. It is hard to say it, and it is not much to die. The difference. Sakazuki. What do you think? Paluzolino asked Sakazuki. Sakazuki said faintly, "We are all soldiers. Now that the order has been issued, we must obey it no matter what, even in the face of Whitebeard." His words made the few people present were all micro-investors. It is a bounden duty for soldiers to obey orders, but this task is not easy to complete. If you act rashly, you will only ask for trouble. Apart from us, is there no other support? Kuzan also asked at this time. He is the youngest of the few, and also the least experienced. Although he hasn't really seen the horror of Whitebeard, he can be seen from the serious expressions of the three of Sakazuki. Seeing the problem, Whitebeard was more difficult to deal with than he thought. Claude smiled bitterly. Nowadays, there are pirates in the world, and marine guards are everywhere. The branches of New World are already overwhelmed. Where else can they come out to help us, and even if they can come, the opponent is Whitebeard. It's not the number of people that can play a role. Sakazuki said. Since Whitebeard did not kill Harrington Vice Admiral on the spot, it means that there is still room for maneuver. The Marshal and the others must also think the same way. He asked us as the vanguard to see what Whitebeard really thinks. To get something, we have no choice but to contact Whitebeard. The three of Claude looked at Sakazuki and asked, "What do you think should be done?" Sakazuki said with a serious face, "Bring our people and go directly to Whitebeard." Paluzolino said, "We are in direct contact with Whitebeard like this. If he wants to disadvantage us, even if he adds everyone in the G5 branch, I am afraid it will not be able to stop him." Sakazuki asked faintly, "Why, are you scared?" Paluzolino suddenly said with disdain, "I'm afraid? Isn't it Whitebeard? Since you have said so, then we don't hesitate to go to this Whitebeard for a while." He knew that Sakazuki was agitating him, but Sakazuki was right, they really had no choice now. "Can you find the location of the Whitebeard pirates?" Sakazuki asked Claude. Claude said, "Yes, Whitebeard did not hide a trace. Our people have been watching them, there is only one Moby Dick." "Then what are you waiting for? Action!" Paluzolino stood up and shouted. Sakazuki said at this time, "Wait until tomorrow." "Why?" The three of them all looked at him. He just said he wanted to contact Whitebeard immediately, so why wait now? Sakazuki said solemnly, "We are taking great risks when we go. Whether we live or die is unpredictable. Although we have this awareness, it does not mean that all soldiers have this awareness. Give them one day. Let them explain their funeral and fight with the Whitebeard pirates. If they don't have the consciousness of decisive death, what is the difference with suicide?" Hearing this, Claude and the others stopped talking, let alone ordinary soldiers. Even they didn't want to contact Whitebeard directly, but they had no choice but to do so. Sakazuki is right. Ask the soldiers to prepare, and at the same time, send a message to the headquarters immediately. If there is a fight, they must send out support anyway. Neither Kuzan nor Paluzolino disputed. That night, Sakazuki was preparing for tomorrow's action. Because he was going to meet Whitebeard, he must be fully prepared for safety. He has now inherited all the power of the original body, and also obtained Conqueror's Haki through the system, but even so, it is far behind Whitebeard, so he still needs to use the system to make the final enhancement. After several months of conquering the pirates, many pirates were killed, so he also got a lot of fear points. 53,976. The fear value of more than 50,000 points is all the fear value that Sakazuki has obtained in the past few months. It is much more than when he was on Badarilla Island, but he has not used it before, and now he has to use it. Against Whitebeard, because they were originally inferior to the Whitebeard pirates, they absolutely couldn't lose their momentum, so he took the lead in choosing Conqueror's Haki to improve. Take 1 Haki Fruit, Conqueror's Haki 35. Take 1 Haki Fruit, Conqueror's Haki 50. Ding! The new product is on the shelves, please check it out. Just when he raised the range of Conqueror's Haki to 50 meters, a new prompt appeared in the system, and he was shocked, and he quickly glanced towards the shop interface. I saw 2 new merchandise patterns appeared under the Haki Fruit. One was the same pattern as the Haki Fruit, but the color changed from orange to red, and the other was even more weird, actually a baby-like fruit pattern. It is different from the Haki Fruit that appeared for the first time, but when Sakazuki chose which red fruit, a simple introduction appeared. Haki Fruit Upgrade. After taking it, turn on Conqueror's Haki Impact, which can cause substantial damage. Price, 1,000 points. Hiss. Sakazuki took a breath. It was actually an upgraded version of Haki Fruit, and after taking it, it could actually cause substantial damage. According to his knowledge, among the pirates known to be able to use Conqueror's Haki to cause a substantial attack, I am afraid that only Red Send Shanks. Conqueror's Haki can cause a physical attack. He didn't hesitate at all, so he bought one with 1,000 fear points. Take the upgraded version of Haki Fruit to start the second stage of Conqueror's Haki 1. It is *1 again, which means that this upgraded version of Haki Fruit is the same as the previous Haki Fruit, and one can only reach a range of 1 meter. Without continuing to buy, Sakazuki looked at another new product, which was the baby-like fruit pattern. This fruit was baby-like in length and was somewhat similar to the legendary ginseng fruit. Ginseng fruit. After taking it, it can control physical development and increase lifespan by 1 year. Selling price, 1,000 points. Calm as Sakazuki, after seeing the effect of this ginseng fruit, he was shocked to spray swear words. What is this? A single ginseng fruit can increase lifespan by 1 year. This fruit is too pervert, right? There is still this kind of commodity trading in the system? Almost without any hesitation, Sakazuki directly chose to buy it. It can be purchased with only 1,000 fear points for a year's lifespan. It is too cheap, but when he was about to buy a second one, he found ginseng. The option pattern of the fruit is actually blacked out, and it is no longer possible to purchase it anymore. Sakazuki was stunned by this situation after only purchasing it once. When he looked carefully, 2 small characters appeared on the option of ginseng fruit. Out of stock. Out of stock, he is very sure that he did not misread it. It is indeed the word out of stock, which makes him painful. What is the situation of this system? Finally, there is a new product that can be purchased, but in the end, he can only buy one. It's out of stock. This is the fruit that can increase lifespan. It is definitely the most precious treasure, so he is very unhappy and wants to communicate with the system, but it is a pity that the system does not respond at all. Just like a program, there is no communication setting at all. Code. But this also made Sakazuki understand that there must be a lot of good things in the system, but the ban has not been lifted, such as ginseng fruit that can increase lifespan. You can only buy one at a time, but I don't know when it will be. To be able to replenish the goods again, what are the restrictions and conditions in the end? This needs to be developed slowly. Good things can't be bought. Sakazuki can only bear not looking at it, and redeem Haki fruits again, redeeming 19 upgraded Haki fruits in a row, upgrading the second stage of Conqueror's Haki to a range of 20 meters. In this way, 37,000 points of fear have already been used, and more than 16,000 points are left, and I think about it seriously. If it really fights with the Whitebeard pirates, Conqueror's Haki is only it's not enough to deal with Xiao Xiao, and against those captains are Whitebeard, so he turned his eyes to the armed Haki fruit. Because he has gained all the power of the original body, he knows that he is not using armament Haki enough. The ability of Lava Fruit is really powerful, so the original body basically focuses on training Lava Fruit, armament although Haki has been practicing, but the time is far behind the development of Lava Fruit. When he was in Marineford, the most important reason why he was able to use Meteor Volcanoes smoothly was that the original body had already developed Lava Fruit to a certain extent, and maybe even Meteor Volcano has been researched, but it is still without time to perfect. There was an accident, and he took possession of the magpie's nest. If he doesn't have the foundation of the original body, he can't use Meteor Volcano at all with his ability at the time, so Sakazuki feels very lucky in retrospect. Armament Haki is an indispensable ability of Vice Admiral. I have practiced armament Haki in the original body for several years. Because of the strong physical fitness and hard work, even if it is not as good as lava fruit in terms of time, it is still to a certain extent. It's just that it's not possible to cover armament haki all over the body for the time being, let alone reach the level of 20 years later. He had tried to eat a haki fruit before, and the hint he got was very simple. Armament haki had been promoted. He didn't have too much fear before, so he didn't want to study what happened, but from Conqueror's haki fruit just now. The upgraded version, he got inspiration. Maybe armament haki can also be upgraded. Just do as he thinks, so he immediately starts buying the armed haki fruit. Armament haki is improved by taking 1 fruit of haki. Armament haki is improved by taking 1 fruit of haki. Take a piece of haki fruit. Ding. The new product is on the shelves, please check it out. Just when Sakazuki ate the 12th haki fruit, the system prompt sounded again, and he immediately looked at the shop interface with excitement, which was exactly the same as the upgraded version of Conqueror's haki fruit. Haki fruit upgrade version. After taking it, turn on the element coverage, which can make armament haki cover the natural elements. Price, 1,000 points. This is. Sakazuki's pupils shrank. This explanation is very clear, covering armament haki on natural elements, that is to say, his magma can also cover armament haki like his body. He still knows a little bit about this. In the original book, when Akainu was playing against the captains of the Whitebeard pirates, the opponent used armament haki to cut his elemental body, but he was actually not injured. This is not because armament haki did not work, but was offset by Akainu's use of armament haki, because Akainu's use of armament haki at that time reached a terrifying level, and it was able to cover armament haki on top of magma. This is definitely armament. Haki is very advanced. Unexpectedly, there is an upgraded version of haki fruit, which can directly cover armament haki on natural elements, which greatly enhances his strength. Sakazuki immediately bought a haki fruit and ate it. Take the upgraded version of haki fruit to start the second phase of armament haki 1. Armed. Sakazuki turned his entire right hand into magma and started using armament haki. The next moment he felt that armament haki was covering the magma on his right arm, but this time it did not turn black like covering the body. It was like a layer of air, and haki actually only covered his fist, not even his forearm, let alone the entire arm. It seems that the range of armament haki 1 is not 1 meter, but an approximate number, or level. The range can only cover the entire fist. I just don't know what the next level will look like. Give it a try. Then he bought 3 more haki fruits and raised the level to *4. He experimented again and found that the maximum coverage of armament haki has reached the size of 2 arms, but as long as the magma leaves the body, armament haki will naturally dissipate it. I don't know if the level is not enough, or other reasons, but unfortunately now he has no fear value to buy haki fruit. After purchasing the haki fruit, the fear value of more than 50,000 points is only 976 points left, so Sakazuki conducted another 9 draws. Not to mention, the luck of this draw was really good, and 9 chances were drawn. 4 times. A loyalty card, a donut, and 2 bursting charms. This time the lottery is definitely his best luck. In addition to the previous one, he now has 3 donuts, 2 senbei, 4 loyalty cards, 3 bursting charms, and 1 double fear card. The only purchase this time is that his strength has been greatly improved. Conqueror's haki substantively attacked. This is definitely an ability that the best people on the sea can hardly possess. Armament haki's ability to cover fruit is not an ordinary person. What can be done? Although it is still a little bit behind Whitebeard, it is at least a bit more confident. Father, Daddy, a few warships appeared behind us. They are flagging us and want to negotiate with us. New World, a huge battleship that was so huge, as if it was going to swallow everything, was moving. Suddenly, an eager shout came from the battleship, and then the whole battleship became lively. Gum la la la. A unique burst of laughter sounded on this huge battleship, and the superstructure above the battleship was very high, and a large area of the deck was vacated. A group of people dressed in different clothes surrounded the deck. Up, are standing, are sitting, are frolicking. The strange laugh was a man in the crowd sitting on a huge chair, like a giant. This man was extremely tall. Even if he was sitting, he was taller than most people around him. He just wore a very wide white robe. The exposed body is criss-crossed with countless scars, the whole body muscles are bulging, and the pieces look amazing. But the most eye-catching thing is the characteristic beard on his face, the crescent-shaped white beard. As long as you have mixed up in New World, anyone with a little bit of knowledge will recognize this man as long as you see him. This person is the legend of the pirate world, the only one remaining among the 3 legendary pirates, known as the world's strongest man, Whitebeard. And this huge battleship is the most important pirate ship of the Whitebeard pirates, the Mobile, one of the largest battleships in the New World, and the most important vehicle for Whitebeard. Marine has sent a few warships. It seems that Lousy hasn't been put in his eyes, hell la la la. Father, it seems that those bastards from Marine are here to save this guy. On the left side of Whitebeard, a pirate pointed at a man hung from the mast and said loudly. The young man closest to Whitebeard, wearing a purple vest, a golden punk head, and drooping eyelids, said, "Don't underestimate this guy. He was Marine from the same age as his father. He was once Marine's current Marshal Kong's lieutenant. Marine sent someone to rescue him, it was a matter of course." Goo la la la. Whitebeard laughed and said, "Marco is right. Don't underestimate this Harrington. He is Marine Vice Admiral. He is much better than most of you, but the Marine guys reacted very well. Hurry. I sent someone to negotiate with us in just 2 days, but I don't know who is here this time, Sengoku, Garp, or which old guy. He has been a pirate for decades, and he has fought against Marine countless times. Basically, he is familiar with the powerful characters of Marine, but he is really stressed by only a few people." The punkhead Marco asked, "Father, you keep this guy's life. How are you going to negotiate with Marine?" Whitebeard's face turned straight and said, "Marine's movement a while ago was not small. Not only did Roger publicly execute Roger, but also Golden Lion was captured alive. Recently, a few little guys were stirring up trouble in New World. They really thought New World has become their turf. Lousy will let them know this time, whose turf is New World. Here, it is not their turn to be the master of Marine. Although it was only an accident to catch Harrington this time, it just happened to have an opportunity to take advantage. Recently, in order to suppress the pirates, Marine of New World made frequent moves in New World. It just so happened that Sakazuki and the 3 of them also conquered the pirates. Many pirates in New World are very miserable. Roger and Golden Lion are gone, and Whitebeard has become the #1 pirate in New World, so more or less some pirates have come to him. He didn't want to bother, but Marine's actions are getting bigger and bigger. It also made him very dissatisfied, so I wanted to take this opportunity to hit Marine. Of course, the so-called beating may turn into a war at any time. The most important thing is to see who Marine is sending this time and whether he is qualified to negotiate with him." Whitebeard ordered. "Tell them that Lousy can talk to them, but let them come to Lousy's boat." Without killing Harrington, he was preparing to negotiate with Marine, so he would naturally not refuse Marine's negotiation. After Whitebeard said these words, a tall man who was also tall yelled, "Brothers, the gang of Marine bastards will get on the boat later, cheer up and let the Marine bastards see how we are." Roar, roar, roar. All the pirates on the boat roared passionately. On the other side, there are several warships not far from the mobile of the Whitebeard pirates. Now Sakazuki, Kuzan and Peluzalino are all gathered on the warship of Claude. Seeing the semaphore from the mobile, Claude said, "Whitebeard has agreed to negotiate, but we have to go to their ship. The mobile has gathered all the elite of the Whitebeard pirates, saying it is the Tiger's Den of Longtan. It's not an exaggeration. How should we choose?" Sakazuki said, "The other party has agreed to negotiate with us and let us board their ship, just to give us offense, but it can also be seen from this that Whitebeard does not want to really tear our face with naval headquarters, otherwise will not stay Harrington Vice Admiral until now." The few people around nodded. Whitebeard was willing to talk, which meant that there was still room for maneuver. If the other person didn't want to talk, that would be the worst. Claude said, "The question now is how to talk to them. The Marshal told us to rescue Harrington Vice Admiral, but he didn't allow us to completely compromise with the pirates. This is really too difficult to do." Perusalino interrupted. "And if Whitebeard is upset, he may go to war with us at any time. Indeed, no matter how you think about it, boarding the mobile is fraught with danger." "I'll go." Sakazuki suddenly let out a low cry. Claude said immediately, "Sakazuki, this is not a joke, I think it's all we have passed." Sakazuki shook his head and said, "The other party asked us to board the boat. If we go to a lot of people, doesn't it show our lack of confidence? Then they will embarrass us even more, so it is better to let me go alone. If an accident happens, I have time to inform you too." "No, then I'll go with you," Claude said eagerly. Sakazuki said, "You are the main general this time, and the soldiers under your command also need you to lead. You must not take risks. This time, when negotiating with the Whitebeard pirates, the Marine G5 branch is the main force. As the main general, Claude really can't take risks." "Then I will go with you," Kuzan and Peluzalino said at the same time. Although Peluzalino looked worried just now, he didn't hesitate to encounter something, and he couldn't see the lazy appearance of the past, and Kuzan did the same. Kuzan said. It's too dangerous to be alone. With me, at least my ability can be used in the event of an accident. Kuzan is a frozen fruit capable person. If he fights above the sea, his ability is definitely very powerful. Perusalino also said, my ability can also be effective. At least no one in the Whitebeard pirates should be able to catch up. This meant that several people around me turned over Byakugan. Before I started talking, I was thinking about how to escape. The brain circuit of this guy was indeed different from that of normal people. Sakazuki said, then I will go with Kuzan. At this moment, the dragon who had been standing around suddenly said, plus me. Sakazuki looked at the dragon in amazement. The dragon is Garp's son. Claude and the others also knew that, but they were not familiar with the dragon and had never seen his strength, so they still have some suspect. The dragon looked at Sakazuki and said, the legendary pirate, Whitebeard, I also want to see it up close. Sakazuki frowned for a moment, then nodded, okay, then the three of us will board the mobile, Claude, and Pelusalino. You two will stay and see our signal. If there is an accident, if you do, you can make adjustments in time. Claude and Pelusalino looked at each other. Now, without Marine Admiral, they have the same military ranks and it is impossible to order each other to do things, but Sakazuki's decision is also the best so far, so after the two of them hesitated for a while, they both nodded in agreement. Claude said, okay, but you must be careful. If you really cannot do it, retreat immediately. It is impossible for the headquarters to really deal with us. Not to mention that the three Sakazuki are Naval Headquarters' most optimistic Vice Admiral. The identity of the dragon is also unusual, plus Claude. Even if things fail, it is impossible for the headquarters to punish them too much for a Harrington Vice Admiral. Then I'll leave it to you, let's go. With Kuzan's ability, there is naturally no need for extradition by boat. After Kuzan fell on the sea, an ice path leading to the mobile was formed immediately, and the three slowly moved towards the mobile. The side of the Whitebeard pirates had been staring at the warship, so after the three of Sakazuki and the others acted, they were immediately spotted by them, and they quickly reported to Whitebeard. Father, Marine has agreed to board the ship and sent 3 people over, but it seems that it is not Sengoku, Garp and others, but a few young Marines, and formed an ice path to us on the sea. It should be it's the capable person. After hearing the report, the Whitebeard pirate group and others all showed surprise. Marco said, ice path. It seems that among the people who came there should be a newly rising Vice Admiral from Naval Headquarters. I heard that he is a frozen fruit capable person. What is the name Kuzan? What about the other two? One is wearing a fire red suit, and the other one doesn't know each other. It seems that these 3 people are mainly a man wearing a fire red suit. The pirate who was in charge of the wait and see replied. Marco mused. The person with freezing ability is Vice Admiral who is more optimistic about Naval Headquarters. He has a higher status than him, but he is not Admiral's Marine Vice Admiral. If he has not guessed wrong, he should have lava fruit in Marine. The capable Sakazuki, I heard that he seems to be a candidate for Marine Admiral. As the strongest pirate group in the sea, the intelligence capabilities of the Whitebeard pirate group are naturally very good, especially for those high-level naval headquarters. They know better. Sakazuki, the Marine upstart, they naturally have heard of it. Whitebeard laughed and said, hey, Sengoku hasn't come. It seems that Marine really underestimated Lousy, but 2 interesting little guys came here. I just don't know if I can bring Lousy some interest. Let me know. Let them board the ship directly. Whitebeard was not surprised that the person who came was not Sengoku, because he had only caught Harrington for only 2 or 3 days, and Sengoku had been at Marineford. Whitebeard ordered the entire Moby Dick into action. Pirates large and small quickly gathered on the deck. From the bow to the center of the deck, there were at least 200 pirates, all of them murderous. Just want to give the Marine trio who boarded the ship a smash. The Sakazuki 3 were not slow, and soon came to the front of the Moby Dick. No one greeted us. It seems that they are trying to give us a good start. Seeing that there was no one to greet him, Long suddenly said with a smile. Humph. Sakazuki just gave a faint cold snort, and then walked directly to the boarding steps of the Moby Dick. This situation had long been expected by him. There was no moral justice between the pirate and Marine, and the other party did not directly. It was already polite to greet them with a cannon. Standing on the steps, Sakazuki paused, then took a deep breath. His eyes became fierce for an instant, and at the same time, his aura was completely restrained. The first half of the Grand Line, Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Marine Marshal Sora and Sengoku sat facing each other, and Sora suddenly said, Sakazuki and the others should be in contact with Whitebeard. Sengoku said, they sent a message yesterday, and they should be meeting today. But, is this really good? The other party is Whitebeard. They are still young and may not be able to bear it. Sora looked serious and said solemnly, Marine can't just rely on us old guys. Young people always have to grow up. This is an opportunity. If Sakazuki and the others can retreat from Whitebeard, the future of our Marine, don't worry about it. But in case. Sengoku worried. Sora slammed the table suddenly and shouted, there is nothing wrong with Marine's future without waste. Whether they can support Marine's future is not determined by us, but by them. Sengoku said, but this is a dangerous gamble. If they fail, they are likely to be swallowed by Whitebeard in one fell swoop. Sora's complexion suddenly became savage. It is gambling, and fighting the pirates requires not only strength but also courage. If they fail, it only means that Marine's future cannot rely on them. We can also choose other people. This the most indispensable thing in the world is people with great power. Sengoku, you have to remember that as a marshal, you cannot be influenced by feelings. For the stability of the world, no one cannot be sacrificed. Sengoku was silent. He knew that Sora was teaching, because he was almost the default Marine Marshal, but he didn't expect Sora to be so ruthless. He immediately took all three of Marine's best Logia abilities. Going out to gamble. Boom. When Sakazuki crossed the last step and stepped onto the deck of the mobile, an astonishing momentum erupted from him, and instantly swept over half of the deck, especially Kuzan and the dragon standing behind him, is even more shocked. This is. Neither Kuzan nor the dragon have personally experienced Sakazuki's Conqueror's Haki. At the time of the meeting, Kuzan was far away and did not feel it, and the dragon just heard that Sakazuki owns Conquerors, but never experienced it. But at this moment, Sakazuki's Conqueror's Haki broke out, and both of them were suppressed. Even the dragon who also had Conqueror's Haki was shocked, because Sakazuki's Haki was much stronger than his Haki. Boom. On the deck, suddenly a pirate turned Byakugan and fell, and soon another pirate fell. Whenever Sakazuki took a step, there would be a pirate who fell. When Sakazuki appeared in front of all the pirates, by the time, 20 or 30 pirates had fallen. This is Conqueror's Haki. Seeing this happening, all the knowledgeable pirates stared their eyes wide. Even the captains of the Whitebeard pirate group were shocked and looked at the three Sakazuki walking towards them in incredible ways. Even Whitebeard, who was drinking, put down the flask and stared at the three people who came by, but his eyes quickly fixed on Sakazuki. The source of the Haki came from Sakazuki. Whitebeard saw Sakazuki, and Sakazuki also saw Whitebeard. Without any introduction, he could recognize it at a glance. The man sitting there with a white crescent beard on his face is the legendary pirate, Whitebeard. As soon as he saw Whitebeard, Sakazuki was even more energetic, turning on Conqueror's Haki with all his strength, and the amazing Haki seemed to be essentially centered on him. Boom boom boom. His Conqueror's Haki has been promoted to the second stage. Under the full display, the power is absolutely the best in the sea. The ordinary pirates can't resist this Haki at all. They fell one after another, and the entire deck was originally standing. 200 pirates, before Sakazuki stopped, he had fallen for more than half. Even the captains were shocked, resisting Sakazuki's Haki. Crack. Suddenly there were a few cracking sounds from the ship's board. Marco suddenly shrank his pupils and said in a low voice, how is it possible? Haki alone caused a substantial attack. How could this guy have such a strong Haki? As Whitebeard's top captain, Marco is not unfamiliar with Conqueror's Haki, but at this moment, he is really shocked. Conqueror's Haki caused a substantial attack, which even Whitebeard can't do, but this one in front of him, Marine, actually did this. Boom. When Sakazuki took the last step and stopped, Haki had reached the peak, and many pirates fell one after another, and the surrounding ship's plank also appeared multiple cracks. By this time, less than 20% of the pirates who were able to stand in the end. Apart from the captains, there were only some powerful pirates still standing around Whitebeard. Because Sakazuki's Haki is too terrifying, Harrington Vice Admiral, who was hung on the mast, was also awakened. His eyes widened, he looked at Sakazuki incredibly, and muttered, this, really is Sakazuki? Damn, you bastard, dare to show off on our boat. Looking at the fallen companions around him, a pirate couldn't help but shouted at Sakazuki furiously. Sakazuki turned his head abruptly, his momentum condensed, and his domineering aura went straight to the pirate. His domineering aura and cold eyes made the pirate's heart tremble, and he couldn't help but step back 2 steps. The following words could no longer be said. Boom. Whitebeard suddenly put down the flask in his hand and made a heavy noise, attracting Sakazuki's gaze. Marine boy, dare to show off on the lousy boat. You are not the first, but you are so aggressive and murderous. You are still the first. Give your name. Hearing Whitebeard's words, Marco and others did not show any surprises. They all knew that the man in front of them had already made their father remember, and they paid special attention to it. If it was before, they would definitely dismiss it, but after in the tens of seconds just now, they all knew that the man in front of them was terrible. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Sakazuki. Sakazuki reported his name word by word. It was the first time he released haki like that. Now he only feels very happy, so even in the face of Whitebeard, he is no longer as jealous as before. He feels my soul has become strong, so strong that I don't need to fear anyone. Boy, not everyone dares to be crazy about Lousy's face. Humph. With a cold snort, Whitebeard's eyes suddenly stared, and an astonishing haki burst out of his body and directed towards Sakazuki. Because his goal is only Sakazuki, haki is very fierce, but how can Sakazuki fear the collision of haki, and also condense his aura to collide with Whitebeard's haki? Boom. The two auras collided and made an astonishing sound, and then an even more terrifying scene happened. I saw a purple-black lightning between the two of Whitebeard and Sakazuki, and the middle deck was even more broken. Human haki. The haki collision between the two lasted for dozens of seconds. In the end, Whitebeard saw the deck cracking continuously, worrying about the damage to the hull, and took the initiative to put haki away to prevent the two haki from fighting each other. And Sakazuki didn't take advantage of it and chased him. He also put away haki. He knew very well that Whitebeard didn't lose to him in the confrontation with haki. Whitebeard's use of Conqueror's haki was indeed very powerful, although not like him. That can cause substantial impact damage, but it doesn't mean that haki is inferior to him when they face each other. This guy actually withstood Dad's haki, and even forced Dad to back down. There is such a powerful guy in Marine? The imposing competition between the two was seen by the members of the Whitebeard Pirates. They were all very shocked. The invincible father in their eyes did not defeat Sakazuki on haki. This is really amazing. Kuzan and the dragon were equally shocked. Sakazuki actually used haki to push Whitebeard back. If you say this, no one will believe it. You have to know that Sakazuki's haki has only been awakened for a few months, while Whitebeard has used haki for decades. A few months can be compared to decades. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it. Good boy, your name is Sakazuki, right? Whitebeard himself was also very shocked. This Marine Vice Admiral named Sakazuki was actually better at Conqueror's haki than him. Others could not tell, but he was very clear. Speaking of Conqueror's haki alone, Sakazuki's realm is higher than him. At the very least, he couldn't do such a substantive attack. Sakazuki said coldly, Whitebeard, we are not here to fight with you. We let Harrington Vice Admiral. Goo la la la. When Whitebeard heard the words, he couldn't help laughing. What a big joke, Marine and the pirate meet together, so they are not ready to fight. Sakazuki said, indeed, like now, when I see you, my first thought is to take you down or kill you. You guy is looking for death. Upon hearing Sakazuki's words, the pirates of the Whitebeard pirate group who were still standing roared in anger. Shut up. Whitebeard yelled and stopped all the roars of the pirates. Then he laughed and said to Sakazuki, you kid really dare to kill Lousy in the face of Lousy. There are not many of you in Marine. As the most powerful pirate in New World so far, Whitebeard is indeed qualified to say this. In the entire naval headquarters, there are only a few people he can admire, but starting today, there is one more. A pirate is a pirate, no matter what you go to sea to become a pirate, but from that moment on, you are sinners. Countless people have died because of you. As long as I am still a day, I will always fight with you pirates. Sakazuki said coldly. Whitebeard snorted disdainfully, and said, don't tell Lousy about your Marine set. Don't you come here to save this guy. It's not that simple to save people from Lousy. The dignified Whitebeard will use hostages as a threat. Sakazuki showed a mocking expression. Marco beside Whitebeard snorted coldly. Just allow you Marine to do this, can't we pirates? Anyway, in the eyes of you people, we pirates are heinous. In that case, we don't just do anything. Should it be? Sakazuki snorted, did not refute, and asked Whitebeard, Whitebeard, let's go. What conditions do you need to let Harrington Vice Admiral go? Marco said uncomfortably. Sakazuki Vice Admiral, right? Did we fail to figure out the situation, or did you fail to figure it out? Now we are taking the initiative and wanting to save people with such a tone. What do you think you are? Sakazuki said, I am really nothing. When I came here, I have prepared for the worst. You can kill Harrington Vice Admiral, or you can kill us, but you have to remember that if you do this, you will completely tear your face with Marine, and an all-out war will begin immediately. What big talk. Do you think we will be afraid of you, and go to war when we go to war? Yes, father, this guy is so rampant, let's kill him and kill him. I've never seen such an arrogant marine, so what can I say to him? Sakazuki's words caused all the pirates of the Whitebeard pirate group to shout angrily. They yelled at Sakazuki angrily. If Whitebeard hadn't been here, I would have rushed to do it. When Whitebeard raised his hand, all the pirates stopped talking. He glared at Sakazuki and hummed, "Boy, are you threatening me?" Sakazuki said, "I can't talk about threats, I'm just telling you the truth." Whitebeard looked at Sakazuki with a faint smile, and asked, "Although you have some power, this is the Moby Dick. If I really want to kill you, how likely are you to escape?" Kuzan's face changed behind Sakazuki, and suddenly showed a look of alertness, but Dragon and Sakazuki both had a calm expression, and did not pay attention to Whitebeard's threat. Sakazuki grinned at the corner of his mouth, showing a sullen smile, and said, "Didn't I tell you, we have made the best plan? You can ask, who of us is afraid of death?" As he said, he suddenly turned his head and shouted to the hung Harrington Vice Admiral, "Harrington Vice Admiral, are you afraid of death?" Ha ha ha. A miserable Harrington suddenly laughed. Lousy is afraid of death, but the most afraid of death is in the hands of the pirates. Otherwise, Sakazuki, do good deeds and kill me. Also makes me wish. Sakazuki responded, "Yes, if it gets to that level, the first thing I do is to kill you first." Ha ha ha, Sakazuki, you are a good kid. Long also suddenly said, "I'm lucky, I shouldn't die so easily." Although Kuzan didn't say anything, he was still motionless and his attitude was very obvious. Sakazuki said, "Whitebeard, stop talking about these useless nonsense, just state your terms." Marco came out and said, "You are not qualified to talk to our father. Go back and tell the people above you that if you want to talk to us, at least you have to get a Marine Admiral. You are not qualified." Sakazuki said in a deep voice, "The Marshal has already given us all of this matter, so I can completely call the shots. Here I can tell you my thoughts. This time is our only chance to negotiate. If not this time, if it succeeds, then we can only meet each other in battle." Gum la la la. Whitebeard laughed again, the laughter echoing above the sea. "Lousy has traversed the ocean for decades, and I never knew how to write the word for fear, naval headquarters. Boy, even in the world government, Lousy is not afraid. You are a boy with no hairs growing up, and you are not qualified to talk to Lousy. If you want to save someone, you can. Marco, you talk to him." Marco smiled and said, "Okay, Daddy." Then Marco said, "It's okay to save people, but we recently lacked some money." This is a blatant blackmail, but Sakazuki's expression hasn't changed at all. On the contrary, he is more relieved. Some talks indicate that there is room for discussion, so he asked faintly, "Yes, how much do you plan to ask for? How much is the Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters worth?" "We don't want more, just 10 billion Baileys," Marco said with a smile. Hearing what Marco said, Kuzan, Dragon and Harrington Vice Admiral all showed dissatisfaction. What is the concept of 10 billion Baileys? Although a Marine Vice Admiral is important, it is far from worth 10 billion Baileys. This is exactly what the Lion has said. Even the members of the Whitebeard pirate group stared at Sakazuki as if they were watching the show. No problem. Such an excessive request, but to everyone's shock, Sakazuki agreed without hesitation. No problem. Even Marco, who made the request, showed an unbelievable expression, and once again confirmed, "Really no problem." Sakazuki said, "No problem, other than that, if you have any requests, just ask." Marco turned his head and looked at Whitebeard. Now Marco is only a young man in his 20s. He deliberately proposed this condition, and then waited for Sakazuki and the others to refuse, before moving on to the next step. But who thought? Sakazuki agreed directly, which made him suddenly wonder what to say next. The pirates of the Whitebeard pirate group also looked at each other, which was different from what they had imagined. Not to mention them, even if Kuzan and Long are shocked, this is 10 billion Baileys. Even if Sakazuki is an admiral candidate, he does not have the right to use such an amazing amount of funds. I directly agreed without asking for instructions. It is indeed too impulsive. NS. Cough cough, cough cough. Marco coughed twice, and then said, "Of course there can't be only one request. Apart from 10 billion Baileys, there is also that we do not interfere with each other in the first place. Those who rescued you, yes, you must publicly apologize to us. Do pirate and marine not interfere with each other? If you say this, you will probably laugh people to death. Now that marine has to publicly apologize to the pirates, it is even more troublesome. If marine does that, it is probably not far away. This is deliberately embarrassing people." But to everyone's surprise again, Sakazuki nodded again and said, "Yes." It's okay too. Marco's voice was raised, his face was full of disbelief. He himself knew that he was making troubles unreasonably, deliberately embarrassing. Sakazuki would not be able to tell. The next moment, his face changed suddenly, and he shouted angrily, "Are you kidding me?" Sakazuki finally showed a different expression, and asked in surprise, "Huh? Is it so obvious?" The mocking expression immediately made all the pirates on the ship look angry. This Sakazuki dared to play with them so blatantly on their ship. He simply didn't put them in his eyes. Kuzan and the dragon behind him were also full of astonishment. Sakazuki, who had always been serious, was actually so naughty at this critical juncture. Is this the Sakazuki they know? It seems that you have no sincerity at all. In that case, don't blame us for being ruthless, Marco snapped. Sakazuki sneered and said, "Say we are not sincere. It's really funny. We won't agree to any of your requests. You must let Harrington Vice Admiral go. Otherwise there is only one choice between us. Go to war." He hated the pirate in the first place, let alone a Harrington Vice Admiral. Even if he was caught himself, it was absolutely impossible to compromise with the pirate. The members of the Whitebeard pirates are all angry. Sakazuki is really too arrogant. They have been facing the sea for so many years. Even if they face Marshal Marine Admiral, the other party is not so arrogant. How could the younger generations be able to withstand such a blatant provocation? Father, why don't you talk to him, just kill him. I've seen this guy displeased a long time ago. Daddy, give an order, kill him casually on our boat. Kill him, kill him. The pirates roared angrily because they were indeed very upset with Sakazuki. As soon as this guy came to their boat, he stunned most of them with his haki, and now threatened them face to face. I have seen arrogant ones, but I have never seen such arrogant ones. Their Whitebeard pirate group is now the #1 pirate group in the world. If they are threatened by a small marine vice admiral and still dare not do anything, what else will they rely on in the future? To frighten the pirates of New World. However, Whitebeard has been crossing the sea for so many years. Although he was also very dissatisfied with Sakazuki's tone, he did not lose his reason. At this time, the war with naval headquarters is easy to say, but it is not that simple to do. Although today's Whitebeard has a very good reputation, New World is too chaotic. In fact, he does not have too many pirates under his command, and is far from the scale of a few years later. Apart from these people on the ship, he can listen to him. Not many people ordered by Whitebeard. Hundreds of thousands of pirates, no matter how strong their personal combat power is, it is impossible to beat a large-scale marine. Even if they use a sea of people tactics, they can consume you to death. This is also where Sakazuki's confidence lies. He sees it very clearly that now, no matter how many pirates are in New World, no matter how chaotic they are, but speaking of them, these pirates are more of a piece of loose sand. Some are going to sea for wealth, some are for fame, not yet formed a real large-scale pirate force. The previous flying pirate group counted as one, but now it is gone. Naval headquarters may not be able to eliminate all the pirates in New World, but if you only deal with one of them, the problem is not too big. Even if it is the Whitebeard pirates, as long as naval headquarters can make this determination, regardless of the consequences, it will definitely be able to eliminate the Whitebeard pirates. Some people may even get rid of Whitebeard. Of course, this is just an ideal state. The actual situation is not so easy, but this does not prevent Sakazuki from being full of confidence. This guy. Among the group of pirates behind Whitebeard, there was a burly man staring at Sakazuki in front of him, with a strange light shining in his eyes, and then he looked at Whitebeard's back, shook his head and muttered in his heart. This is not the time to confront naval headquarters. Gum la la la. Whitebeard laughed again. He stared at Sakazuki and yelled, "Little devil, do you think these words of yours can scare Lousy? When Lousy is crossing the sea, you are still breastfeeding in your mother's arms. You are not want to go to war? Yes, Lousy should. Marco, since there is going to be a war, it's useless to keep a few of them, so kill them here." Whitebeard suddenly ordered Marco. Oops. Both Kuzan and Long's expressions changed. They heard that Whitebeard was serious. Kuzan suddenly regretted it. At that time, he shouldn't agree to let Sakazuki be the protagonist of the negotiation. Sakazuki was completely a person who would not compromise. It's hard to kill him. However, it was useless to regret at this time. Kuzan immediately felt a chill and was ready to do it at any time. The same was true for the dragon, looking around vigilantly. Wow. The only remaining pirates of the Whitebeard pirates moved quickly and surrounded the Sakazuki trio in the middle, staring at them eagerly. As long as Whitebeard ordered them, they would immediately do it. Kuzan and the dragon's faces changed, But Sakazuki seemed to completely ignore them, still staring at Whitebeard, and said, "Whitebeard, before you do it, you have to think clearly. Do you really think we will just be so unprepared? Do I come here to negotiate with you?" Whitebeard raised his brows and asked in a deep voice, "What do you mean by this?" Sakazuki grinned and said, "No one can come out of thin air. Everyone has their own birth and care. Unfortunately, we spent some time and inquired about some things. There is a scene in New World. Beautiful village, you Whitebeard pirates will occasionally show up there every time." When Whitebeard heard Sakazuki's words, his face suddenly became gloomy, and he said coldly, "What do you want to say?" Sakazuki said coldly, "You said, what if we marine go to and circle and suppress pirates there?" Whitebeard's angry beard trembled, and asked in a cold voice, "Is this what you prepared?" Sakazuki replied, "Yes, with such a big name as Whitebeard, how could I dare to take the risk personally without a little preparation? A villager's life, another person's life, Whitebeard, speaking of it, you earned it." "Father." The old people of the Whitebeard pirates are all looking at Whitebeard worriedly. They are people who have been with Whitebeard for a long time. Naturally, they know their dad well. They know what Whitebeard cares most about, and they don't know what Sakazuki is. "How did you know that place?" But since the other party had said it, Whitebeard couldn't help but hesitate. It is true that Whitebeard cannot calm down, and he cannot be sure whether what Sakazuki said is true or false, but he cannot bet on it. What he cares about most in his life is his sons and his hometown, which is the place where he was born and raised. Being a pirate does not mean ruthless. If his hometown is destroyed because of him, he will feel guilty all his life. Unexpectedly, there is a sinister and cunning bastard like you in Marine. Whitebeard's tone was full of anger. He really didn't expect this. He had fought with Marine countless times before, but every battle was a real face-to-face battle. Previous opponents, such as Sengoku, Garp, etc., he hadn't used these tricks before, so when he faced Sakazuki, he didn't have any preparations. Insidious and cunning. You use our people to threaten, and I use your hometown to threaten. It's very fair. If you want to say insidious and cunning, you should be the first to make insidious tricks, right? Sakazuki said in a disdainful tone, "If you kill Harrington Vice Admiral in battle, it is because our marine skills are not as good as humans, but you want to use Harrington Vice Admiral to achieve ulterior goals. If we agree, not only does it disrespect Harrington's Vice Admiral, but also sorry to the people of the world. Marine will never compromise with the pirates." Kuzan and the dragon looked at each other behind Sakazuki, and both saw the color of doubt in each other's eyes. Because of what Sakazuki said, they really didn't know at all. Even the dragon who had been following Sakazuki didn't know that Sakazuki was there. When did such a thing happen? But how did he know that Whitebeard cares about his hometown so much? Long was very puzzled. He was even more surprised than Sakazuki knew the location of Whitebeard's hometown. How did Sakazuki know that Whitebeard had such a weakness? Seeing Whitebeard not speaking, Sakazuki continued, "Now you and I are in the same situation, can we have a fair talk?" Whitebeard feels unhappy, but he is indeed caught by someone now. As long as he is an individual, he will have weaknesses. The same is true for him. He said coldly, "Then how do you want to talk?" From active to passive now, the pirates of the Whitebeard pirate group are all aggrieved in their hearts, but their father is not angry, and they can't mess around. They can only stare at Sakazuki and stare angrily. Sakazuki said, "I hate pirates, but the matter is over. I can only patiently discuss with you. As long as you release Harrington Vice Admiral and Marine soldiers captured by you, I will definitely not. You will do something about your hometown, and you can even forget all of this completely." Whitebeard said, "Why should I believe you?" Sakazuki said, "Although I am not a good person, I have never broken my promise. One is one. If you don't believe it, you won't stand. Now you have no choice but to believe in me, just like I can only believe in you now. Same." Whitebeard said, "I have real hostages in my hand, and you are just fabricating it out of thin air. No one knows whether it is true or false, so it is not fair now. Lousy is not satisfied." The last sentence was almost roared, and the haki made Sakazuki frown slightly. "Okay. Let's take a step back. As long as you release Harrington Vice Admiral and others, our Marine G1 branch will immediately withdraw from New World. This answer can also give you an explanation to the New World pirates. Other pirates will think it was your Whitebeard pirates who forced us to retreat Marine, and it would make your Whitebeard pirates more prestigious. How?" Whitebeard was a little surprised. If it is true that the G1 branch retreats from New World, as Sakazuki said, all the credit will fall on their pirate group. At that time, as a pirate force that can beat Marine out of New World, they will be famous. But the problem was that he didn't believe that Sakazuki, who had been threatening them just now, would actually make such a retreat. Kuzan and Long also frowned. The Marine G1 branch is the largest branch of New World so far. Even Harrington is not qualified to make such a decision. Sakazuki is even less qualified. This is only the naval headquarters marshal. Some power. But knowing that Gui knows, they certainly can't demolish Sakazuki's station at this time. Whitebeard is also thinking in his heart. Doing this will indeed give them a great reputation, and it is also in line with their purpose of action this time. In fact, with Whitebeard's personality, he would never do this kind of hostage-based threats to others, but this time the three Sakazuki made a lot of noise in New World. As the biggest pirate in New World, he had to come out. For the pirates of New World, even made this kind of behavior contrary to personality. Whitebeard was originally prepared to take the opportunity to attack Marine, because he knows the high levels of Marine well, whether it is Marine Marshal Kong, Admiral Sengoku, or Marine Hero Garp. When they face this kind of thing, they will never compromise, and he is sure that Marine will not really fight him, and he will only get more benefits by then. But all this was destroyed by Sakazuki, and a young man he didn't understand came to him. Instead, he was threatened by others, and even the final initiative was completely mastered by Sakazuki. Although Shu gave him benefits in the end, it felt wrong no matter what, as if the other party gave him alms. War, or peace talks, just wait for a word from you. Sakazuki was right. What kind of decision is right now depends on what Whitebeard said. If they agree, both sides will get what they want. If they don't agree, they can only go to war. Everyone is staring at Whitebeard, because his decision is enough to change the fate of the people present, even the fate of New World, even the pirates. At this time they are holding their breath and waiting for Whitebeard's decision. Whitebeard was silent for a long time, and then he said, "It's okay if you want me to agree, but there is one condition." Hearing Whitebeard's words, the three Sakazuki secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Since Whitebeard has let go, it means that things will succeed. Even if the conditions are available, it will probably not be the same as Marco mentioned before. Sakazuki said, "You said, as long as it is reasonable, we will agree." Whitebeard grinned, "My condition is very simple. If you want to take people away from Lousy so easily, then you have to accept my anger. One strike." Whitebeard raised a finger and said, "There is only one condition, boy. I think you are very unpleasant. As long as you can catch my blow, whether you are dead or alive, you can take your own people. Leave." Sakazuki looked at Whitebeard in astonishment. He didn't expect that Whitebeard would actually make such a request because he wanted to kill him. "Sakazuki, Whitebeard is very strong, you have to think clearly." The dragon whispered in Sakazuki's ear. As a legendary pirate, he is now the strongest man in the world. Even with a single blow, it is not so easy to follow, especially now that the opponent is obviously full of killing intent. Whitebeard is a conspiracy. If Sakazuki doesn't pick it up, maybe he will release Harrington's vice admiral, but Sakazuki's reputation is ruined, but Whitebeard's blow is not easy to take. Fortunately, life is in danger, so the dragon will remind Sakazuki. "I promise." But Sakazuki agreed without any hesitation. Yes, Whitebeard is very strong, especially now in the peak period. The strongest man in the world is not made. But no matter how strong Whitebeard is, he is not weak. He admits, "I'm not an opponent of Whitebeard, but if I can't even catch a blow from Whitebeard, I'm too ashamed of myself, too ashamed of my identity." Whitebeard said, "Good boy, a bit courageous, but I don't know how strong you are." He knows that Sakazuki's Conquerors is powerful and even has offensive capabilities. Even he can't match this point. But Conqueror's hockey is powerful, which does not mean that it is true. His Whitebeard has been in the sea for decades. There are few rivals, even if only with one blow, as long as you use your full strength. There are not too many people in the world that can take over. Whitebeard glanced at it and said, "I can't use it on the boat. Go to the sea, that frozen boy, go and freeze the sea." The commanding tone made Kuzan frown, but his temper was not as strong as Sakazuki, so he did not have a seizure. Instead, he jumped to the surface of the sea, and then the surface of the sea was quickly frozen. It is said that the sea is the nemesis of the capable, but the ability of this guy is completely fearless of the sea. When the pirates of the Whitebeard pirate group saw Kuzan falling into the sea was frozen, especially those with abilities, all showing envy. The general demon fruit power, except those with the ability to fly, are very afraid of the sea. After falling into the sea, they will become weak. The ice sealing ability like Kuzan is completely fearless of the sea. Many capable people envy. Both Sakazuki and the dragon followed Kuzan and jumped off the Moby Dick, and then Whitebeard also took a group of pirates and landed on the ice. Claude and Paluzolino on the warship in the distance have been watching the situation aboard the mobile. They just couldn't see the specific situation. They were a little anxious. The only thing that made them rest assured was watching the movement. There shouldn't be a fight. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, they suddenly found that the sea was frozen, and then a group of people all jumped off the mobile and landed on the ice. It's Kuzan, he has frozen the sea, what happened? Upon seeing this situation, both Claude and Paluzolino were shocked, which is not a good phenomenon. I'll see what's going on. Paluzolino was anxious, and after speaking to Claude, it immediately turned into yellow light, and moved towards there in a few dots. Hey! Claude wanted to stop, but Paluzolino was too fast and disappeared directly from him, leaving him no way. He was also anxious, but as a general, he could not be as headstrong as Paluzolino, he must to defend the warship. Claude Vice Admiral, don't worry, I don't think it's the worst case. If it is really going to be a fight, wherever you will get off the boat, you will definitely fight on the boat. Even if Whitebeard and the others are strong, they cannot let Sakazuki. Vice Admiral didn't even have a chance to send a signal. Compared with the two of Claude, the Ghost Spider is very calm analysis, he is very confident of Sakazuki's strength. Defeating Whitebeard is a delusion, but it will not be instantly defeated, let alone they are still 3 people. Claude can become the main commander of Marine in the New World G5 branch. Naturally, he can't be a reckless man, but because the matter is very important, he is worried that he will be confused. I hope Sakazuki can handle it well, it's really impossible, we can only bite the bullet. The bow did not turn back. They came together as a group. Even if the most critical situation really happened, he didn't want to leave Sakazuki and others behind. Everyone else could die, but the 3 Sakazuki were one of the naval headquarters. The most promising young generation in China is those who want to inherit the future of Marine, and they must not die here. Paluzolino's sparkling fruit ability is really not blown out. His speed is definitely the best in the pirate world. It didn't take long for Sakazuki and the others to be on the ice before he arrived. Sakazuki. What the hell is going on? Jin Guang gathered quickly and became Paluzolino. He fell in front of Sakazuki and asked. Oh, this is another Marine Logia-capable person who has made a lot of noise in New World recently. Recently, the Sakazuki trio killed a lot of pirates in New World. Kuzan and Paluzolino came to New World before Sakazuki. Naturally, they killed more pirates than him. The trio's intelligence has already been obtained. It came from the pirate world, and the abilities of the 3 of them are very special, and they are very iconic, and they can be recognized at a glance. Kuzan said. The talks are almost done, only the last step. Sakazuki is going to fight Whitebeard. After one blow, regardless of life or death, the peace talks will be completed. Oh. Is it so smooth? Paluzolino looked very surprised. He just saw the movement here and thought he wanted to do it. It turned out to be doing it, but it was not what he imagined, but the thing was already set, as long as the final step is complete. NS. As for the fight between Sakazuki and Whitebeard, he didn't worry too much. Although he and Sakazuki didn't deal much with each other, he didn't think that Sakazuki couldn't even catch a blow from Whitebeard. All back. Marco yelled at all the pirates, and then quickly backed away. They all knew Whitebeard's power. If the distance is too close, it is very likely to be affected. Sakazuki also said to Kuzan and them, you guys stand back too. Whitebeard didn't take his pheasant knife, looked at Sakazuki, and asked, are you ready? Lousy won't be merciful to you, Marine. Sakazuki fought back. I will not show mercy to the pirates either. With that said, magma burst out all over his body, dripping on the ice, slowly melting the ice. He has adjusted his state to the best. The lion fights the rabbit, still using his full strength, let alone dealing with the world Whitebeard of the strongest man. Goo la 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 la. Whitebeard laughed happily. Even though he was ill-intentioned, he met a good young man. Even if it was a hostile relationship, his interest was stirred up. Magma boy, your hockey is indeed very powerful, but I don't know if your ability is as powerful as your hockey. Sakazuki said calmly. I'm not strong or not, I don't know until after I've played it, but I've been known for your shock fruit power for a long time. I just don't know if you are so old, can you use it? Actually, Whitebeard is only 50 years old this year. For ordinary people, this age has already begun to enter his old age, but for Whitebeard, now is the peak time. Sakazuki said so, it is nothing more than mocking him in psychological warfare. That's it. Whitebeard didn't speak anymore, but raised his right hand and made a fist. There was a strange wave, and there was a white light around Whitebeard's right fist. It was obvious that he had already used his abilities. Although he was still taunting just now, Sakazuki had already picked up the spirit of 12 points and stared closely at Whitebeard. Drink. Whitebeard screamed, and the whole person rose up into the sky, and the huge body instantly came to the front of Sakazuki. The force of the vibration was activated, and Sakazuki was smashed into the past. Sakazuki also burst out in his eyes for an instant, and shouted, "Great eruption." The magma collided with Whitebeard's shocking force. The terrifying force spread rapidly around the two of them. The solid ice surface was continuously cracked, and the strong energy forced those who approached to retreat. Go. The moment Whitebeard touched, Sakazuki's face became very ugly. He had used all his power, but when he touched Whitebeard, he still felt that his power was crushed, and the magma collided with the force of vibration. Together, even if he used armament hockey, the magma was still shaken by the shaking force, and the tyrannical force slammed into his body. Not good. Sakazuki's situation was very bad. The three Long's expressions changed drastically, but they didn't move, they just watched worriedly. Boom. A few seconds later, a fiery red figure was smashed into the air, and at the same time the entire ice surface collapsed and a piece of sea surface collapsed. Sakazuki. The flame red figure is naturally Sakazuki. He flew more than a dozen meters before landing on the ice. Although he was still standing, his face was not very good looking, and he even had bloodline on the corners of his mouth. "Are you hurt?" Long asked in surprise. Sakazuki's body trembled for a while, and then he said a bit. "Whitebeard deserves to be Whitebeard. Shock Fruit's power is really terrifying. Even if I fight and defend with all my strength, I still have no defense. But fortunately, it was only slightly injured. Worry." Then he said to Whitebeard, who retreated in front of the pirate, "The blow is over, it's time for you to let go." Whitebeard was expressionless, and said, "Release." Suddenly a pirate put Harrington Vice Admiral down, and at the same time came over with a dozen Marine generals. Harrington and his men were all injured. They didn't say a word of nonsense at this time. Instead, they helped each other and quickly came to Sakazuki and them. Sakazuki knew that this place shouldn't stay for long, so he immediately said, "Promise your conditions will not change, leave." Seeing Sakazuki and the others are about to leave, Whitebeard suddenly said, "Magma Boy, please listen to Lousy. If you dare to break your promise, Lousy will overturn your naval headquarters, and if Lousy's hometown appears, any question, no matter who it is, you will be the first one." Sakazuki did not respond, but left quickly. "Father, just let them leave like this." Seeing Sakazuki and the others leave, the pirates were a little upset. Whitebeard said solemnly, "Remember, when you meet this guy in the future, try to walk around as much as possible and don't fight him hard. This guy is not easy." Marco asked in amazement, "Father, is this guy really that powerful?" Whitebeard said, "Marine really picked up the bargain this time. This guy is indeed very potential. Now, I can completely suppress him, but after another 10 years, it's hard to say. He is definitely the best I have ever seen. Potential younger generations are likely to reach Garp's level." "Is it so strong?" Marco and the pirates all took a breath. "Who is Garp?" "It's a Marine hero. It's not an exaggeration to say that it is the strongest Marine, especially in New World. If one of the most feared Marines of New World's pirates, Garp can definitely be ranked first. The big pirates under Garp, the big pirates, are really countless." Sakazuki and others took Harrington and the others quickly back to Crowd's warship, and then let Crowd set off immediately. "Sakazuki, Whitebeard let you go so easily." When Claude saw Sakazuki returning with Harrington and the others intact, he was shocked. Whitebeard still knew something. With the other's personality, how could he let him go easily? Kuzan immediately explained the cause and effect. After listening to Claude, he looked at Sakazuki in shock. Even if his relationship with Sakazuki was very good, he was still suppressed by Sakazuki's behavior. This is too much. According to his imagination, Sakazuki could actually get Whitebeard in one go? However, after he finished listening, he immediately frowned and said, "Let the G1 branch withdraw from New World. Did you decide this matter privately without discussing it with the above?" Sakazuki said, "The situation is urgent and there is no time to talk too much. If it is not like this, it will not succeed at all." "Don't you know Whitebeard's hometown? Use this to threaten Whitebeard, can he still not agree?" Claude said. Sakazuki glanced at him and said, "It's easy to say. Do you really think I know where is Whitebeard's hometown? I am silly. Whitebeard is not stupid. There is no real evidence. You think he will believe it? I promise this condition. Step back 10,000 steps. He is not at a loss. At least he has a reputation. Otherwise you think he will let us leave easily?" Claude worried. "But how do you explain to this department?" Sakazuki said, "Just say what you should say." At this time, the rescued Harrington Vice Admiral suddenly intervened and said, Leave this to me. Sakazuki did this to save me, and I think he did nothing wrong with this thing. This time it was we were defeated and captured by others. Even if we stayed, it would only be a joke. It's better to just withdraw and let me talk about it at the headquarters. Although he did not fear death before, as long as he can live, who wants to die? So he was grateful to Sakazuki who saved his life, and he would naturally speak for him at this time. Perusalino said, I also think that Sakazuki did the right thing, not to mention that he risked his life to fight Whitebeard. By the way, Sakazuki, you had a trick with him. What is his power? Sakazuki thought for a while, and then said, it's very strong. Together, I may not be his opponent. When Whitebeard is at the peak, he only fought with Whitebeard, but he also felt the tyrannical power of Whitebeard, and knew that he would never be Whitebeard's opponent, but he didn't know how much Whitebeard had spent. Strength. As for Pelusalino, although he has never played against him, he can be sure that Pelusalino will never be stronger than him so far, so if he and Pelusalino add up, he is also sure it won't be Whitebeard's opponent. Of course, this is all analyzed based on his strength after the blow with Whitebeard in the record of the top battle in the original book, but he can't estimate how strong Whitebeard is at the peak. Oh, isn't that amazing? It's Whitebeard. Pelusalino was not surprised. For the legendary pirate, he still recognized the opponent's strength. Go back to the base first. Claude said. Several warships immediately moved towards the G5 branch base at the fastest speed. After returning to the branch, Harrington and others were arranged to be treated. Only Sakazuki and other general officers were left, including their respective lieutenants, and a few rear admirals such as dragons. The total number was only 12. The G1 branch withdrew from New World. It will not be long before this incident will spread throughout New World. At that time, our Marine's Majesty will suffer a great loss. How should we report this matter like this? Although he did not decide the outcome of this event, he was also one of the participants. If the above were to be held accountable, he would also have to bear it, but as far as he is concerned, he still agrees with Sakazuki's decision, but in the end how to report to the above, this still needs to be discussed. Perusalino said, of course I told the truth. This time I think Sakazuki handled it very well. Without losing a single soldier, he saved Harrington Vice Admiral, although the G1 branch was forced to evacuate New World, but there is no other way. It was Whitebeard who took the initiative. It is the best to be able to get such a result. Kuzan said, I have no objection. Longyi opened the mouth and said, this matter can't be concealed, you must truthfully report it. Sakazuki, what do you think? Claude asked Sakazuki. The decision on this matter was made by Sakazuki alone. If the merit is good, everyone must count it together, but if the person above is held accountable, Sakazuki, the leader, must be pushed out. Yes, so he has to ask Sakazuki's decision. Sakazuki said, report it directly, but we have to suppress it before the result of this matter is announced. Several people looked at Sakazuki in confusion. Claude asked. Whitebeard fought with Marine, but he took advantage of it. It is also one of the few times that the New World pirates have been able to achieve excellent results since they fought with Marine. Captured the branch chief. How could they not publicize it? We have no way to suppress it. Sakazuki said with a confident face. The general method really cannot be suppressed, but at this critical time, we must use extraordinary means. Do you have a way? Upon hearing Sakazuki's words, Claude and others looked at Sakazuki with interest, waiting for his answer. Sakazuki did not answer directly, but asked, why do you think New World is so messy? Several people immediately expressed their opinions, but in the end everyone agreed that this phenomenon was caused by One Piece Roger. He guided the vast majority of pirates. Now most of the pirates are aiming at the treasure and location of One Piece. Sakazuki said, you were right. Although Roger was executed by our Marine, he gave hope to the pirates. That's why so many pirates went out to search for treasures, making the already chaotic New World even more chaotic. The pirates of the Crucian Carp crossing the river were out of order, causing New World to complain. And many more. When Sakazuki said this, Pelusalino suddenly interrupted him and asked, Sakazuki, don't you want to say a way to suppress this? How do you say this? The interrupted Sakazuki glanced at Pelusalino dissatisfiedly. This guy was really not polite at all, and interrupted others casually. He was talking about the rise. Sakazuki said, of course it is related. Don't interrupt when I finish. Pelusalino curled his lips and stopped talking. Sakazuki continued. I have a method. Although the threat of pirates in New World cannot be reduced, it can greatly improve the chaos in New World. Of course, more importantly, it can completely suppress our incident. Oh. You are so confident. What kind of method is it? The people present were all interested. After negotiating with Whitebeard, they were all more convinced of Sakazuki, because if it was them, they would not be confident that they would be able to retreat from Whitebeard's hands and save the hostages. Come down. Sakazuki said solemnly. Claude, you can order your people to take a walk in New World. There are 4 emperors under One Piece. One Piece cannot be born, but one can be born. One Piece 4 emperors is the future of pirates. Mainstream. Pirate 4 emperors. Everyone was at a loss. It was not even a few years later. When the 4 emperors said that they hadn't appeared yet, Sakazuki was the first to bring it forward. Therefore, those who had never contacted them naturally felt very confused and surprised. Sakazuki said, yes, it is 4 emperors. As the 4 strongest pirates under One Piece, use the name of 4 emperors to let all the pirates fight for it. Claude took a breath and said, do you want to stir up the pirates? But now New World is chaotic enough. If this title is tossed out, it will definitely excite the pirates even more. Confusion? Kuzan also said, not only that, if you follow what you say, the 4 emperors you said will inevitably appear. That will only make the pirates bigger and stronger, and it is not a good thing for us. Long objected. I don't think so. On the contrary, I think Sakazuki's method is very good. It did make New World more chaotic at the beginning, but this chaos is different from the current chaos. Nowadays, pirates are rampant, bullying civilians everywhere, but if this method is implemented, most of the pirates will fight frantically for the throne for fame. In this way, it will reduce their time to plunder civilians. And even if the 4 strongest pirates finally appear, this is not necessarily a good thing. With 4 emperors, there will inevitably be new rules. At least in their territory, other pirates dare not act recklessly. At that time, the many pirate groups that need to be targeted will become 4 emperors level pirate groups. Isn't this more advantageous? The dragon's words made all the people present fall into contemplation. His words sounded very illogical at first, but after thinking about it carefully, they found that this is true. In general, there is a kind of slant sword feel. Compared to other people, Sakazuki himself was the most shocked, because what the dragon said was exactly what he thought. He really shocked the dragon's keenness. He just raised it, and the dragon can think of so much in an instant. The guy's vision and grasp of the strong political relationship are simply amazing. No wonder he can become the leader of the revolutionary army and has not been caught after fighting with the world government for so many years. The dragon is right. I just want to take advantage of this. For the pirates, fame and wealth are the most important. To become a 4 emperor, you not only have fame, but you can also get wealth and huge benefits. Compared with this, you said that the matter between us and the Whitebeard pirates will still be taken seriously? Everyone was silent. Sakazuki was right. If the title 4 emperors were really pushed out, it would definitely be more shocking than the incident between them and the Whitebeard pirates. After all, this incident can only be a blow. The arrogance of Marine does not benefit the pirates, but the 4 emperors are different. This is a real benefit. Although they still can't fully understand the meaning of 4 emperors, they all know that this matter must be more concerned than their Marine G1 branch leaving New World. Claude worried. If several powerful pirate groups were born because of this, then. I didn't go on, but everyone understood what he meant. It was the same as Sakazuki's decision to negotiate with Whitebeard. It was also a gamble. It was even crazier than the previous decision. Once this decision is made public, let's not say anything. At least it can change the pattern of New World, thereby affecting the pattern of the world. Or, let's report this matter to our headquarters? The matter is so important that no one can make an immediate decision, so someone suggested it. Sakazuki glanced at him and said faintly, report to the headquarters, waiting for their meeting to make a decision. It will take at least a few days to go back and forth. After a few days, what will happen again? Have you thought about it? As soon as Sakazuki said, the man suddenly bowed his head and said nothing. They had all seen Sakazuki's strength, and even if they were general officers, they were unwilling to touch him. Sakazuki finally said solemnly, we will be out, the military order is not subject to it. The matter has developed to the point where it is now. If the headquarter wants to pursue it, it can't escape. If this is the case, it is better to do it again at the end. People bear it. In his opinion, the 4 emperors pattern is a matter of time, and it is better to be promoted by him. The 4 emperors dominate the New World. It is better than the current pirates who want to behave recklessly and do harm everywhere. Claude said, don't say such things, Sakazuki, since you have decided, then I must support you. If there are more lice, I am not afraid of itching. What is there to be afraid of? Originally, he and Sakazuki were good friends, but now he is even more convinced, so he did not hesitate to accept it. Afterwards, Long also said, I agree too. I have no objections. Paluzolino said. Kuzan frowned, but he didn't oppose it as before, and no one else expressed his opinion. No matter what, they still couldn't make a decision on this matter. Sakazuki finally made a final decision. Okay, this is the decision. Claude, New World is your site. You will do this. You must spread New World in the shortest time and cause the most sensational effect. Claude suddenly laughed and said, "Leave this to me, you can rest assured. I promise that it will spread throughout the entire New World in less than a day." Sakazuki sneered and said, "As long as this matter spreads, we don't have to conquer the pirates with great fanfare, just sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight." Once the name of 4 emperors is passed out, although it is not as amazing as the name of One Piece, it can definitely arouse the interest of most pirates. At that time, for the position of 4 emperors, there will definitely be battles, and New World will evolve into the sea. A slaying place for thieves. Father, Daddy. It was still in that sea area, and the Moby Dick of the Whitebeard pirate group was still sailing on the sea. After a news bird flew over, a pirate suddenly yelled eagerly. Whitebeard is not in a good mood. He has not forgotten what happened yesterday. He was led by the nose by a junior marine, which made him very uncomfortable. Even after a day has passed, he still hasn't been relieved. The sound of exclamation attracted all the pirates on the boat. Whitebeard asked, "What's the matter?" "Father, read this newspaper." The pirate handed Whitebeard the newspaper he had taken from the newsbird. After Whitebeard read it, he was surprised at first, and then he burst into laughter. "What a pirate 4 emperors! Father, what happened?" Marco and the pirates asked very curiously. Whitebeard threw the newspaper to them and said, "New World is about to happen, you can see for yourself." Marco took the newspaper, and a group of people gathered around to read it. After they finished reading it, it passed it to others. Those who had read it were all shocked, and they were obviously suppressed by the contents of the newspaper. Is this going crazy? After a long time, Marco couldn't help sighing. As the second person of the Whitebeard pirates, he is still very young, but even so, he is well known in the New World. It is not something that can scare him. But now the content on the newspaper really shocked him. Isn't this a good thing? The 4 emperors mentioned in this newspaper clearly stated that there is a father position? I also think so. Father is not interested in One Piece, but the position of 4 emperors is a good one. I don't know which genius thought of it. There are 4 emperors under One Piece. With his father's ability and name, it is enough. Become the head of the 4 emperors. 4 emperors, sound very imposing, very in line with the name of the old man. This newspaper is very discerning, and Dad is enough to be the head of the 4 emperors. After the shock, many pirates showed their excitement, because the newspaper not only mentioned 4 emperors, but also listed their father Whitebeard as the first emperor. This is raising Whitebeard, so the pirates they all agree very much. I don't think it is that simple. At this time, the pirates are flooding, but they have released the 4 emperors. It is undoubtedly that people deliberately want to kill the pirates and make New World more chaotic. Some people are happy, and naturally some people see the problem. The position of the 4 emperors is indeed attractive, but there are only 4 positions, and there are too many powerful pirate groups in New World, and there are countless large pirates. In order to compete for these 4 positions, large-scale wars will naturally occur, and New World will be chaotic. This news must have been deliberately released by someone with a heart. What is the intention? Said Jin Guduo, one of the captains. Father, what do you think? Whitebeard's face is solemn. As a pirate who has crossed the ocean for decades, he knows very well that if this news spreads, it will cause a huge sensation in New World. It is not an exaggeration that 90% of pirates will be crazy about it. The One Piece is out of reach. It only exists in the legend. Even if it succeeds, it will be targeted by the world government and naval headquarters. But 4 emperors are different. There are 4 positions, which are enough to distract the attention of the world government and marine. It can also deter other pirates, but any ambitious pirate will definitely be tempted. After pondering for a while, Whitebeard suddenly said, "It's marine." Marco and others suddenly asked in surprise. Father, what do you mean? This news was released by marine. No, the pirate 4 emperors has no benefit to marine. A 4 emperors may not be able to resemble it. Roger has caused such a big impact on the world, but the 4 combined, it must be more horrible than One Piece. Marine will not be so stupid, is it?
Whitebeard said in a deep voice. It's true that the old guys I know are unlikely to do this kind of thing, but that kid just finished negotiations yesterday, and today there is such a big event. If it has nothing to do with him, lousy, I don't believe it.
Hearing what Whitebeard said, Marco and the others were taken aback for a moment, and then Marco asked in a puzzled manner, Father, the kid you mentioned, is it the Magma Vice Admiral from yesterday? For yesterday's Sakazuki, the entire Whitebeard Pirates group did not have a favorable impression. That guy was too arrogant. Whitebeard said. After thinking about it, only the kid is the most suspicious. He was forced to evacuate their Marine G1 branch from Marine. If this matter is spread, Marine will lose face in New World. At this time, he chose to bring out the pirate. The news of the 4 emperors that is enough to make a sensation all over the world attracts everyone's attention to this 4 emperors. Will anyone pay attention to the withdrawal of their G1 branch from New World? Listening to Whitebeard's analysis, the complexions of the pirates present were constantly changing. The 4th Division Captain Sachi immediately said, compared with the news of the 4 emperors, what happened yesterday is indeed a lot worse. In order for the thieves to compete for the position of the 4 emperors, who would care about Marine's situation? Is that guy so good? The biggest impression Sakazuki gave them was arrogance and domineering. They really couldn't believe that Sakazuki did it. Whitebeard said solemnly, you look down on that guy too much. Although 3 people came to Marine yesterday, he was the only one who spoke from the beginning to the end. This kind of thing, based on the situation at the time, could not have been discussed in advance. Okay, but he finally took control of the matter abruptly, forcing us to agree. Do you think he is simple? The pirates stopped talking. Even though they were very upset with Sakazuki, what happened yesterday was exactly what Whitebeard said. They were led by Sakazuki's nose, and they were finally forced to agree. It seemed that they had taken advantage of it, but in reality it was Sakazuki who was in control of the situation. Whitebeard said, I'm afraid that kid not only wants to cover up yesterday's events with this thing, but also has other intentions. 4 emperors, 4 emperors, if there really are 4 pirates in the New World Kunlun-Tianxia. What good is it for him? This is where he is puzzled. Now the layout of New World is disorderly. The pirates are crazy and cruel, messing up New World. But once there are 4 great pirates who can deter New World and integrate these pirate forces, even if countless pirates will be killed or injured in the process, the number of pirates will drop sharply, and eventually a stronger force will be formed. Marine and world government have caused a greater impact, far more difficult to deal with than the pirates in the scattered sand now. Isn't Sakazuki not able to see such obvious results? And judging from the speed of this incident, the people at Naval Headquarters should not know it. What kind of trick does this kid want to play? When the news of 4 emperors came out, it not only shocked the Whitebeard pirates, the whole New World became a sensation, and the news spread at an extremely fast speed, and quickly swept the world. Unlike the Whitebeard pirate group, they didn't know that this information was sent by Sakazuki, and thought it appeared spontaneously, especially the New World pirates. One by one was even more excited, even though there were only 4 emperors. Has nothing to do with most people, but it does not prevent them from being excited and excited. This is the closest position to One Piece. Within a day, almost all the forces of New World heard the news. At the same time, the incident of the Naval Headquarters and the Whitebeard pirate group was also spread out because of the conflict between the G1 branch, and many people discussed and admired Whitebeard. However, more people are attracted by one of the 4 emperors named by Whitebeard in the news. As soon as the name of 4 emperors was announced, Whitebeard was immediately named one of them. This shocked many people, but was also full of excitement, because Whitebeard is a legendary pirate, and now it can be called new. The number 1 big pirate in the world, he became a 4 emperors, only to make this name more famous. He is fully qualified. Becoming one of the 4 emperors will be able to rank alongside legendary pirates like Whitebeard. This is a very tempting choice for most pirates, so many large pirate groups have already begun operations. But although the name of 4 emperors has appeared, what kind of qualifications are needed to become 4 emperors is a huge question, but there is no shortage of smart people in this world, and there are also people who can think about it. The pirates of New World are all crazy, really completely crazy. Sakazuki, this method of yours really worked. In the New World Marine G5 branch base, Claude yelled Sakazuki, his face full of excitement. It has been more than half a month since they spread the news of the 4 emperors. Both Kuzan and Paluzolino have left the base, but now the New World is extremely chaotic, so they did not stay long, but went straight back to Naval Headquarters. As for Sakazuki, he did not leave immediately, but stayed at the G5 base to continue to observe the situation in New World. As he expected, when he sacrificed the 4 emperors, the pirates in New World went crazy, especially when he listed Whitebeard as the first pirate king, making others wonder what to do. Most of the pirates who won the position of 4 emperors flocked to the Whitebeard pirates to challenge Whitebeard. Because in the eyes of these pirates, since Whitebeard is one of the 4 emperors, after defeating Whitebeard, it must be the 4 emperors. With such a huge guide light, Of course people who don't know how to go forward are going looking for Whitebeard. In this way, their goal was indeed reached. The withdrawal of the Marine G1 branch from New World did not cause much sensation. Only a few people were still talking about it, and more people were more concerned about the four emperors. Sakazuki said, "This method will definitely work. Pirates have a great pursuit of fame and wealth. They have become one of the four emperors. Not only can they gain fame, but wealth is also at their fingertips. Anyone who thinks he has the strength. The pirates will all fight for the position of the four emperors, but what I didn't expect is that Whitebeard might be busy now." Claude smirked and smiled. "You were right. In this short period of time, I heard that many people challenged Whitebeard. This is just the beginning. I believe it will be even more crazy in the future, Whitebeard. If we know that the main messenger behind this incident is us, we will definitely be mad." Sakazuki said, "Do you think Whitebeard can't guess it? Just after the front foot has negotiated, something like this appeared on the back foot. He will definitely suspect us, but what if he knows it? Even if it's a person like him, he will also be affected by his reputation, coupled with his identity and status. He must sit on the seat of four emperors, and he must also take up other people's challenges. What are you going to do next? The water in New World has been completely muddled by you, and the G1 branch has also withdrawn from New World. We are left with the G5 branch. Faced with those crazy pirates, we dare not go out casually now. Arrested." Claude is a little depressed, because the water in New World is too deep right now. As soon as the title Four Emperors came out, it has already attracted countless pirates. I really don't know what will happen to the hidden monsters after a period of time. Will come out of the mountain. The G5 branch cannot support so many pirates, so recently they have stayed at the base, not going out much. In the current New World, it is no exaggeration to say that the pirate has become the absolute protagonist. This is what Sakazuki expected, so he did not go out during this time. The next period of time is when the pirates are in civil strife. They will definitely fight desperately for the position of the four emperors. For the sake of safety, you will stay in the base. Don't run around, wait for the limelight to pass. Do things." Claude said, "Tisk, Sakazuki, I have to say that after a few years, you have not only improved your strength, but also your mind has become more flexible. Just a little bit of tricks, you just used the New World pirates. Between the palms, great." Sakazuki shook his head and said, "This is a mixed blessing. In recent years, the pirates of New World may have been killing each other, but once the real four emperors are stabilized, we will have the headache. In the end, all the elites are left. From now on, New World will be the world of the pirate four emperors. The influence of four emperors in New World is greater than that of Marine. In the anime of One Piece, naval headquarters almost lost control in New World. New World is really reduced to the world of the four emperors of pirates. Even the world government is extremely jealous of four emperors." Claude said indifferently, "Why do you want to do so much? Even if there is a situation like what you said, it will not be us who will have the headache by then. That is what those people above need to consider." Hearing Claude's words, Sakazuki shook his head helplessly. This Claude has strength and abilities, but he just doesn't want to care about so many things and prefers to speak with strength. Don't expect him to think about it in the future. Troubles. By the way, Sakazuki, the headquarter has been urged several times. When are you going to go back? What happened in New World? Claude and others have already reported to the headquarters. Kuzan and Peluzolino have both gone back, but Sora wants to see Sakazuki, who decided this happened, so only a few times urged Sakazuki to go back. Sakazuki said in a hurry, "No hurry, wait until the dragon comes back." Claude said puzzledly, "Where did the dragon go? It has disappeared for half a month. Why are you not in a hurry?" Sakazuki shrugged and said, "He said he is going to work and he should be back soon." Since the dragon spoke to Sakazuki half a month ago, he left Marine Base. Sakazuki didn't ask him what he was going to do. Now he hasn't returned for half a month. Sakazuki has more or less guessed what he wants to do. Sakazuki, who is familiar with the plot, is naturally very clear about what the dragon is about to do. Leaving at this time is nothing more than the upcoming or the revolutionary army that has been born. He should contact his companions. Sakazuki didn't have much feeling about the organization of the dragon's formation of the revolutionary army, because the revolutionary army targeted the world government, not Marine. It can also be seen in the plot that the revolutionary army did not act on Marine at all, and the world government nor did Marine act on the revolutionary army, and most of them were other subordinate organizations of the world government. To be honest, Sakazuki himself doesn't have a good impression of the world government, especially the self-righteous celestial dragons. These talents are the most important factor in the chaos of the world, So even if he knows the purpose and actions of the dragon, he does not will take care of it. If dragon really has the ability to oust celestial dragons, he will only stand aside and applaud. 2 days later, Claude came to Sakazuki again, gave him a printed piece of paper, and said, "The urgent call from the headquarters belongs to you." After Sakazuki took the look, his brows were tightly twisted together, and then the paper was burned immediately, but his brows were not stretched out, as if something difficult had happened. "You have to be careful, Sakazuki." Claude had also read the content on the emergency telegram, so he couldn't help but remind him when he saw Sakazuki frown. Sakazuki sighed, then said to Claude, "I see, don't worry, I'm fine." After a few more days, the dragon finally returned to Marine Base. "It's over." After the dragon came back, Sakazuki didn't say anything more, and asked directly. Long replied, "It's done." Sakazuki nodded and said, "Since it's finished, let's go back. The headquarter has already urged several times. Don't you continue to practice in New World?" When the dragon heard that Sakazuki was going back to naval headquarters, he asked strangely, because he had left the base a long time ago, so he didn't know what happened later, so naturally he didn't know that Kuzan and Paluzolino were already there. Go back, and Sakazuki stayed only to wait for him. Sakazuki said, "Do you think we can still act at this time?" Long suddenly patted his head and said, "Yes. Why did I ask such a stupid question? Today's New World is no longer what it was when they came. Today's New World is an authentic pirate who is in charge. Pirates from all walks of life are trying their best to compete for the position of the 4 emperors. Marine G1 branch was forced to retreat from New World. At this time, if they continue their previous actions, not only will they not receive support, but they will become public enemies of the pirates. Don't look at the fight between these New World pirates, but if Marine comes in at this time, they will definitely turn the gunhead without hesitation, and kill Marine first. Okay. Don't talk too much nonsense, hurry up and tidy up and prepare to return to Marineford." Although Sakazuki still wants to continue to kill the pirates, he also knows that the current situation does not allow it. There is no need to take such a big risk to do dangerous things. What's more, the headquarters has ordered him to go back several times. Keep dragging like this. After we leave, you have to be careful. At the time of parting, Sakazuki once again said to Claude, a good friend for many years, of course he does not want Claude to have an accident. Claude, like him, is a hawk in Marine, and he is definitely a soldier in killing pirates. But now Marine's strength in New World has been greatly reduced, and the pirates have become very crazy. At this time, it is best to seek stability. Claude said dissatisfied. I have been in New World for so many years, and I know this place better than you, but you, when did you become Marine Admiral? You can invite me to drink at that time. You were indispensable. Sakazuki laughed. Starting from the New World G5 branch base, when they returned to the first half of the Grand Line, it was already the 3rd day. On this day, Sakazuki and the others drove to a small island, not far from the Marineford Naval Headquarters, and it happened that there was almost no supplies. In addition, he was very tired after being on the ship for 2 days, so he personally took people off the ship. Going to the island to buy supplies can be regarded as relaxing for yourself. Speaking of it, he has been in Pirate World for more than half a year, but he is still not used to this kind of life by boat at sea. He used to live on land. Even in those decades, the number of times he took boats did not exceed one hand. But in this world, he spends most of his time on boats. Let him very uncomfortable, so whenever he has the opportunity, he will get off the boat and relax. After shopping for more than an hour, the phone worm on his body rang. Sakazuki touched his pocket in surprise, and finally found that the phone worm in the left pocket was ringing, and then picked it up. But after he got through the phone worm, he was puzzled, and it was actually the ghost spider calling him. Ghost spider. What's wrong? The two sides were only a very short distance apart, but the ghost spider still contacted him through the phone worm. Obviously something happened. The ghost spider's voice over there came over immediately. Sakazuki Vice Admiral, something has happened. The dragon doesn't know what's going on. The one who killed us escaped from the boat. What? Upon hearing this, Sakazuki's whole body was taken aback, and he let out a cry of astonishment, and couldn't believe his ears. You heard it right. The dragon killed our people and escaped. Come back quickly. Sakazuki immediately hung up, then called the soldiers who had come out together, and hurried back to the port warship as quickly as possible. As soon as he arrived at the port, the ghost spider greeted him, and Sakazuki immediately asked with a serious expression, "What the hell is going on?" The ghost spider said solemnly, "I don't know what's going on. When inspecting the port, I suddenly heard a few screams from the warship. After I boarded the warship, I happened to see the dragon rear admiral leaving quickly. And then I heard someone yelling that Long was killing people. I tried to chase them, but let him escape. Sakazuki looked very ugly and asked, "How many people died?" The ghost spider said, 6, of which 5 are our soldiers, and 1 is Colonel Jeremy. I arranged for these 5 soldiers to monitor Colonel Jeremy. So I think the dragon is targeting Colonel Jeremy. The 5 people were just killed by him, but I can't figure out what is his hatred with Colonel Jeremy. Why did he kill people on the warship? In the eyes of the ghost spider, the dragon has no reason to kill, especially with Colonel Jeremy. They should have no intersection before. Why did they choose to kill Jeremy at this time? Besides, the dragon's father is the marine hero Garp. As Garp's son, even if there is a gap with Jeremy, it is absolutely impossible to kill people directly without scruples. Of course, what makes the ghost spider most angry is that you killed Jeremy. Why kill their 5 soldiers? You know, Sakazuki's private soldiers are only 500 people, even if it was the last Golden Lions. When the flying pirates attacked naval headquarters, they only lost a dozen soldiers, but now they were killed by the dragon at once, and of course he was very angry. This bastard actually chose to defect at this time, damn dragon. Sakazuki is very angry now. He has long known that the dragon will betray Marine, but he never expected that he would choose to betray at this time and kill his people. The last urgent order received at the Marine G5 branch base was directly sent by Naval Headquarters Marshal Kong. The content is very simple, that is, he must take the dragon back to Naval Headquarters. If it is for someone else, it must be. I didn't understand the meaning of the sentence, but Sakazuki understood after reading it. The dragon was already suspected. In fact, even if Sakazuki received the order, he didn't care too much. He kept it as it was. He just didn't want the dragon to discover the strangeness, but he never expected that the dragon reacted so keenly. When he was about to arrive at Marineford, it was beyond everyone's expectations. He chose to rebel. Which direction did he run? Zaka asked the ghost spider dead. The ghost spider pointed to the west and said, "He fled over there. I have sent someone to catch up, but at the speed of a dragon, it might not be so easy to chase him." What is the dragon's abilities? Even in naval headquarters, this is a secret. Few people know it. However, ghost spiders have seen dragons take action, knowing that he is the kind of person who is good at speed, so he doesn't immediately catch up, but send someone to stare behind the dragon, and he stayed here waiting for Sakazuki to return. Sakazuki said solemnly, "You stay here to stabilize the situation, and immediately notify the headquarters, I will chase the dragon." After speaking, he immediately chased up in the direction the ghost spider pointed. Like the ghost spider, he didn't know exactly what the dragon's ability was. When reading comics before, some people guessed it was devil fruit like dragons, and some people guessed it was Logia devil fruit like storms, because his only shot was at the time Luffy was about to be killed by Buggy, his ability to change the climate. It is very similar to these two abilities, so many people guess like this. But no matter which of these two abilities the dragon is, one thing is certain, that is, the dragon must be good at speed, and he is a lava fruit ability. Even if he can also marine 6 styles, you can imagine it is basically impossible to catch up with the dragon by ordinary moves. However, there was a feeling in Sakazuki's heart that he could definitely catch up with the dragon, so he chose to pursue it without hesitation. Pursuing all the way, Sakazuki met the chasing units sent by the ghost spider. They were all thrown away by the dragon, and they were still chasing after the traces left by the dragon. They told Sakazuki everything, and in the end only Sakazuki was left to continue pursuing. The others followed him. Sakazuki has been chasing for dozens of minutes. The island they stayed on is very large. He chased from the east of the island to the west without stopping. In the end, he saw the dragon. On the edge of a cliff near the sea, Sakazuki saw the dragon. The dragon was standing there, facing the sea. After he came, the dragon slowly turned around. "You came." Sakazuki looked at the dragon with cold eyes. At this time, the dragon had taken off the coat engraved with the word justice, and his temperament had also changed a lot. Before, he looked very restrained, but at this moment, he is sharp and sharp. Audacious. Why? Sakazuki only uttered 3 words, but there was a deep chill. The dragon was expressionless, and slowly said, "This sentence shouldn't be asked from your mouth, right? I don't believe you didn't feel my change. For this day, you should have a hunch." Sakazuki said coldly, "I am not asking this." Long stunned, and then reacted and said, "I understand, you are not surprised at my betrayal. What you want to ask is why I want to kill Jeremy, right?" Before Sakazuki could answer, he continued, It's very simple, you and my friend have a game. Before leaving, of course I have to help you. That Jeremy is not honest, you think he really took refuge in you. Wrong. In fact, he kept a record of everything that happened recently, whether it was his selfishness or whatever. In short, he wanted to seize your handle. As a friend, I naturally want to help you solve this trouble, anyway. I have already decided to leave, and killing him is nothing. Sakazuki's eyes were still cold, and said, I didn't take Jeremy's trash in my eyes. His every move is under my supervision. You killed him not because you wanted to help me, but because you wanted to hurt me. Also, I don't care too much about his life and death. You can kill him, but why do you want to kill my people? Long only reacted at this time, and he said in amazement, it turns out that you care about this thing. No way. I don't want to kill them, but they happened to see it and wanted to stop me. I couldn't help it. You can only kill them. Sakazuki said coldly. You have been with me for so long. You should know my character. No matter what you have, the person who killed me is a fact. If I remain indifferent, how can I lead my men in the future? Go back to naval headquarters and accept the trial. Suddenly, the dragon burst into laughter, and an astonishing aura erupted from him. This was the first time Sakazuki saw the dragon, so Haki was exposed, and that Haki was very amazing. Sakazuki, although you are strong, it is impossible to catch me. Sakazuki's body is constantly bursting with magma, and his surroundings are full of scorching heat. Looking at the murderous Sakazuki, the dragon was not nervous, but rather calmly said, Sakazuki, after getting along for so long, you and I should know each other a little bit, and know what each other is thinking. You and I can become companions who have entrusted our lives. Let us calm down and have a good chat. Anyway, there is enough time, how about? I have nothing to chat with you. Sakazuki yelled. The whole person rushed towards the dragon, and the magma fist slammed into the dragon's head without mercy. Boom. The astonishing energy spread around the two of them, and saw that Sakazuki's magma fist did not hit the dragon, but was picked up by the dragon's palm, covering armament Haki's palm so that Sakazuki's magma could not burn him. Don't be so excited, Sakazuki. The two were very close, and when Sakazuki made another move, the dragon quickly retreated like a gust of wind, pulling apart. You should have a premonition of what I am going to do. In Marine, you are the first person who can see through me. Although I don't know what you have seen, but through my observation and understanding of you, I think you and I are the same passerby. One blow failed, and the dragon pulled the distance away. Sakazuki frowned. After hearing the dragon's words, he snorted again and said, I am not the same person as you. First am Marine. I have my justice. You betrayed Marine. You and I will only be enemies. Dragons, don't use your rhetoric, it will do nothing to me. Long Dao. Of course I know that rhetoric is useless to you, so what I say is sincere. You and I have been in Marine for many years. You should also know that naval headquarters are not like ordinary ones. As the soldiers thought, don't you care about the darkness behind you? Marine was supposed to be an army of justice to deter the sea and perform justice, but what about the current Marine? Naval headquarters has become a tool of the world government and celestial dragons, and has become a dog wandering to the celestial dragons. I can do anything. But the only thing I don't want to do is the dog of celestial dragons. I believe you are the same. Sakazuki's face was gloomy, even if he didn't want to admit it, but in his heart he knew that Long was right. Martial Marine's position was high enough, right? But it's not subject to 5 elders, and 5 elders is just a representative of celestial dragons used to control the world launched. In the final analysis, it still serves celestial dragons. I am fulfilling Marine's justice. I don't care about the others. I just need to take care of myself. You are deceiving yourself, Sakazuki. This world is decayed. I have gathered countless people with lofty ideals. They are all righteous people who have been oppressed by the world government and celestial dragons. As long as we work hard, we will be able to overthrow this decay. The world government overthrew the rule of celestial dragons and created a new world, a peaceful world without oppression and exploitation. Sakazuki, I sincerely invite you to join. As long as you join, I am willing to give up the leadership position. Long said it very sincerely. Putting aside everything else, he really wanted to invite Sakazuki to join, because Sakazuki was not only powerful, unlimited potential, but also very quick-witted. It can be seen from the negotiation with Whitebeard, even facing the big scene. I am not afraid of it. This kind of psychological quality is not something ordinary people can have. Even as long as Sakazuki can join, he is willing to give up his position as leader. What he values most is being able to overthrow this decadent world. As long as Sakazuki has the ability, he is willing to give up. But unfortunately, Sakazuki has no such thoughts at all. He coldly said, the world is now rotten, Who can guarantee that the world will not be worse than it is now? Dragon, I don't know what your desire is. You make such a decision, or you really want to do something for this world, but I can tell you that it is absolutely impossible for me to join you. Long cried out inexplicably. Why? Isn't your justice to protect the rights of the common people? The same is true for my purpose. If you overthrow the so-called nobles, your justice will be realized. Why don't you understand? Perhaps Long's thoughts are far ahead of the vast majority of people in this world, but compared to Sakazuki, it's still far behind. He is a person who has experienced two worlds, especially in his previous life. The history of Nien has already proved a lot, so he can see more clearly than Long. Perhaps infected by the dragon's angry roar, Sakazuki did not eagerly act, but calmed down. He shook his head and said, Dragon, you didn't understand it at all. The world is like this. The nobles will never disappear, and the world will never show the kind of fairness you said. When there is light, there must be darkness. What you do is to let light replace darkness forever without leaving a trace of darkness. And what I want to do is to let light illuminate more places, but never thought of removing all darkness, because it is impossible. Our goal may be the same, but the process will never be the same. My purpose is to let the light drive away the darkness. What's the difference? Long asked very incomprehensibly. Sakazuki's eyes flashed suddenly, and slowly said, because you have chosen to betray, so I will tell you this. Of course, your ideals and goals are different. I want to make changes on the original basis. Change Marine subtly and change everything. Long suddenly smiled and said, Change Marine. Sakazuki, your idea is so naive. Even if you sit in the position of Marshal Marine, you can't change the entire Marine. Marshal Marine simply cannot represent the will of the entire Marine. Sakazuki said, if it was before, it might not be possible, but now, how can I know if I don't try it? It is indeed very difficult to change Marine, but he has confidence in himself, he has a powerful system that can turn the impossible into possible, and he firmly believes that more than 90% of Marine soldiers are righteous men, so he is confident that he can make a change. Lofty ideals, Sakazuki, this is why I am willing to invite you and admire you. After all, you and I are still the same. Long still smiled, seeing Sakazuki's eyes without a trace of hostility, some just confirmed like a confidant. Sakazuki hummed, you want to overthrow the existing world government. What you have to do is push everything to rebuild. This is different from what I think. You are a revolution. You want to change the destiny and change the dynasty. It's treason. Revolution, revolution, revolution. Being rebuked by Sakazuki, the dragon was not angry at all. Instead, he showed his eyesight. He kept chewing on what Sakazuki had just said, and his eyes were getting brighter and brighter. The temperament of the whole person was constantly changing, as if he had found his goal. The whole person seemed very excited. Ha ha ha, Long laughed excitedly. He pointed to Sakazuki and shouted excitedly, Sakazuki, you really are the person I value most. You inspired me. You were right. What I want to do is revolution. Haha, I always didn't know what name to give this army of justice before, but now that I know it, I'll just call it Revolutionary Army. With a serious face, Sakazuki's face changed drastically after hearing the dragon's excited shout, almost staring out. Wait. Long did not determine the name of the Revolutionary Army before. I contributed to the name Revolutionary Army? Sakazuki was full of dissatisfaction, and it turned into consternation at this time. He never expected that the Revolutionary Army, a force determined to overthrow the world government, was named because of him, which is incredible. Sure enough, more words are more wrong, less words are less wrong. Come on, Sakazuki, look at how fate this is. You name this righteous teacher. Join us and we will overthrow this decadent world together. Long shouted to Sakazuki excitedly. Sakazuki has no patience to continue. The dragon is obviously determined, it is impossible to turn back, nor can he turn back, and naturally it is impossible for him to join the Revolutionary Army. Let him hide his head and show his tail like a dragon for decades, but he couldn't do it. He thought he didn't have the dragon's belief that he could endure everything and hide in the dark. Stop talking nonsense, dragon. Today you and I can only fight one battle. You must give an explanation to the one who killed me. The dragon killed 5 of his soldiers. For Sakazuki, this is absolutely unforgivable. They are all the soldiers who are most loyal to him. It is a pity to lose one, not to mention 5 deaths at once, so he must to seek justice. Dragon. Sakazuki. It seemed to realize that it was useless to talk to Sakazuki only in words, so the dragon's complexion became dignified, and the aura of his whole body condensed, facing Sakazuki. This time he was not ready to flee. Let me defeat you and lead you to form a revolutionary army." With a loud shout, the dragon took the lead this time to attack Sakazuki and rushed to Sakazuki very quickly. "I should take you back to naval headquarters." Boom. The ghost spider made people look at the warship and the murder scene, and then led people to chase in the direction Sakazuki was chasing. "Sakazuki Vice Admiral is chasing in this direction. We hurry up and we should be able to catch up." All the chasers gathered along the way, and the ghost spider led them to chase Sakazuki and them quickly. After a while, the ghost spiders suddenly saw lightning and thunder in the air not far away, and half of the sky was strangely stained red. What's more terrifying was that the surrounding temperature rose sharply, even if it fell quickly. Heavy rain cannot reduce the heat. In almost an instant, the ghost spider reacted, and he immediately commanded, "This is Sakazuki's ability. He is in front. Let's catch up. He should be fighting the dragon." A line of dozens of marines followed the ghost spider, heading towards the place where Sakazuki and the dragon were fighting. The battle between Sakazuki and the dragon was very fierce, and the resulting momentum was also extremely terrifying. Almost half of the island's climate was affected. The strange changes in the sky also made the residents of the island scared. Fortunately, the place where the dragon and Sakazuki fought was the remote cliff on the west side of the island, is not inhabited by anyone. Otherwise, I don't know how many people will die under the influence of the two people. Below the cliff is the sea. At this time, in the center of the sea, a small ship is swaying and floating in the sea. The dragon seems to have encountered a powerful enemy. Many people gathered on the boat. They all raised their heads and looked up. These people were not weak, and they were very different in their clothes. There were even many races different from human beings. These people are the companions of the dragon gathering. They came here to respond to the dragon. The dragon negotiated with them not long ago and asked them to wait for him today. He will choose to defect today, so they sailed here early. It's just that they waited here for a long time, and they didn't find the trace of the dragon. Until now, they suddenly discovered the strangeness, as well as the shocking waves of battle from the cliff. From the fluctuations of the battle and the changes in the sky, some of them recognized the dragon. As for the other side, they only knew after a while. Although the dragon is young, it can become the leader of their group of unruly people, relying on not only the wrist, but also the tyrannical strength. This island is not a famous island, so at this time, it is possible to fight the dragon and create such a momentum. It must be the naval headquarters vice admiral that the dragon told them, Sakazuki with the ability of lava fruit. They had all heard of Sakazuki's power from the dragon before, but they didn't know whether it was true or false without seeing it with their own eyes. But at this moment, when they saw the movement ahead, they knew that the dragon was right. It is said that this Sakazuki is an outstanding figure of the new generation of marine, or an admiral candidate. It is not surprising that he can compete with the dragon. But what is the dragon thinking? Shouldn't it be a quick retreat at this time? Why bother with that Sakazuki? According to the agreement, they quickly evacuated after picking up the dragon. Now their organization is the original creation and cannot be exposed at all, so they don't understand why the dragon fights Sakazuki, and it has caused such a big momentum. Don't worry, the dragon still has a sense of measure. Let's wait, he won't delay it for too long. After all, it is not very far from naval headquarters. If it provokes the naval headquarters army, you can't leave if you want to. A man wearing a kabuto hat, who couldn't see his true appearance, spoke very calmly. Then we will wait. Boom. Sakazuki and the dragon collided again, and the two backed up at the same time, staring at each other sharply. By now, they had been fighting for nearly half an hour, and the entire cliff had been knocked down by them for a few meters. Magma was everywhere, and the surrounding area was even more messy. Sakazuki's justice coat has been beaten to shreds. The fiery red suit is also torn in many places. Even the hat on his head is missing. What is even more terrifying is that a narrow strip appeared under his left rib. Blood gushed out of his wound, even if he could not hold it down with his hands. Sakazuki is so miserable that the dragon on the opposite side is not much better. The clothes on the upper body are gone, showing muscles all over his body. There are multiple burns on the chest and back. But the most amazing thing is not these injuries, but him. The left half of the cheek. I saw that the left half of the dragon's face was bloody, making his whole person as terrifying as a ghost crawling out of the area. Huh. Huh. Both Sakazuki and dragon stared at each other, constantly panting. Although the two fought for less than half an hour, the battle was extremely fierce. Both of them used their full strength, and their moves were fatal attacks. There was no hand left, so in a short period of time, both of them were seriously injured by each other. Sakazuki, you should accept the reality. You can't bring me back. Long didn't care about the injury on his body. He still stared sharply at Sakazuki. He had been with Sakazuki for a few months and knew that Sakazuki was very strong, but after the actual fight, he realized that Sakazuki was stronger than he thought. Even if he used all his power and fought recklessly, he still couldn't defeat Sakazuki. Sakazuki was also shocked. He didn't expect the dragon to be so strong. If you know that the dragon is a few years younger than him, the original body is already a very terrifying monster. If he hadn't enhanced his strength through the system, light with the power of the original body, I am afraid that it is not necessarily the dragon's opponent. Covering the wound under his left rib, Sakazuki stared at the dragon coldly and said, "If I can't take you back alive, then I will take your corpse back." Ha ha. Long chuckled and said, "This is even less possible for you to do." Sakazuki Vice Admiral. When the two were talking, suddenly the cry of the ghost spider came over, and then the ghost spider rushed over quickly, followed by dozens of marine soldiers. Seeing the ghost spider suddenly appeared, both Sakazuki and Dragon's expressions changed. The difference is that Sakazuki showed joy, while Dragon became very serious. The ghost spider and others came to Sakazuki. When he saw Sakazuki's tragic situation, he immediately asked nervously, "Sakazuki, how are you?" Sakazuki waved his hand and said, "It's okay, don't let the dragon run away." The ghost spider suddenly turned his head, and shouted at the dragon angrily, "Dragon, we are not so bad to you. Why do we do this kind of thing?" The dragon smiled freely and said, "Ghost spider, this is where you are inferior to Sakazuki. With hindsight, even why I want to kill people have not been figured out yet. Do you want to know why? Very simple, that is, I have already betrayed Marine." "You turned out to betray?" Hearing the dragon's words, the ghost spider still couldn't believe his ears, because the dragon's father was the marine hero Garp. Garp's son actually killed the marine mutiny. I'm afraid it was someone else. "Everything has become a reality, there is nothing else I can't believe," Sakazuki snapped. The ghost spider immediately woke up. "It is not the time to be shocked," he shouted. "Dragon, no matter what reason you betrayed, now you can't escape, hurry up and catch it." The dozens of marines behind him swiftly walked towards the dragon to encircle him. Long laughed, looked at Sakazuki, and said, "Sakazuki, let's leave it alone. I hope that when we meet again next time, you won't be the same as today. You have to share your life and death with me." With that, he jumped up and jumped directly off the cliff. Seeing the dragon jump off the cliff, Sakazuki knew it was impossible to catch him, so there was no action at all, but the ghost spider immediately rushed to the edge of the cliff. "Don't chase, you can't catch up." The ghost spider just wanted to order to take a look under the cliff, but he was stopped by Sakazuki. He said, "That guy is underneath someone to pick him up. When you get down, he has already run away, and it doesn't make sense to chase down." The ghost spider shook his hand angrily, then walked to Sakazuki and asked, "Then what shall we do next?" The dragon is Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. A Rear Admiral mutiny may not be a big deal for Naval Headquarters, but the problem is that the identity of the dragon, he is the son of Marine Hero Garp, and the son of Marine Hero Rebels. This has an impact. But it was very shocking, and it could definitely be said to be a major event. Sakazuki said with a serious face, "No matter what the reason, the dragon defected from our boat. We can't escape responsibility. But now is not the time to think about this. Let's go back to the boat and return to Marineford as soon as I get better. Regarding the matter, you also truthfully report it to Naval Headquarters." The ghost spider said solemnly, "This time we may be facing huge troubles. Your recent behavior is really lacking in consideration, but the dragon's defection may not be completely bad for us. There are some things that we can push to him." Sakazuki naturally knows the meaning of ghost spiders. He frowned and said, "Garp Vice Admiral is not easy to explain." The ghost spider said cruelly, "Garp Vice Admiral is now hard to protect himself, not to mention, he still has a handle in your hand." With a gleam in his eyes, Sakazuki said in a cold voice, "Ghost spider, just know something in your heart. Knowing too much is not a good thing." The ghost spider sternly said, "Sakazuki, no matter what environment you are in, I am the one who is absolutely on your side. You don't need to doubt me. Although I don't know exactly what you want to do, I can be sure that everything you do is for the justice in your heart. The Pirate 4 Emperor's proposal is absurd, but it is indeed beneficial to the people. This is also the reason why I have no objection. It is the best choice to use the dragon's defect to share the responsibilities. In fact, you don't have to worry too much. This guy killed our man and made him bear the blame. This is fair." Sakazuki's complexion is gloomy and uncertain. The ghost spider can be said to be his Ishin belly, and he can become Marine Rear Admiral, and become Sakazuki's most powerful assistant. He is naturally also a smart person. Recently, Sakazuki's things will have flaws. Ghost spiders can. It's not surprising to see it. He still trusts the ghost spider's heart, because he has used 2 loyalty cards against the ghost spider, both of which are successful for the first time, indicating that the ghost spider is still very loyal to him. In addition, the 2 are also people on the same boat. As the lieutenant of the private army, if Sakazuki has an accident, his lieutenant will definitely not escape responsibility. The 2 can be said to be both prosperous and all damaged, so ghost spiders are absolutely not. Would betray him. And the idea of the ghost spider is entirely for his consideration. When returning to naval headquarters this time, he must be questioned from above, because several things he did were decided privately, even if others did not object. But the main responsibility it also lies with him. As long as he is held accountable from above, he will be punished first. At this juncture, the dragon has chosen to defect and killed people. This has a very good excuse to put a lot of responsibility on the dragon. Anyway, the dragon has decided to defect and is not afraid of taking more responsibilities. Sakazuki, non-toxic and not a husband, human beings are not for themselves, and the heavens are destroyed. What's more, what you have to do is not evil. You just want to protect yourself. In the future, you will have to do great things. You can't lose your future at this time. Seeing Sakazuki's face hesitating, Ghost Spider once again persuaded him in a very cold tone, because the other soldiers were distracted, and he didn't worry that the conversation between the 2 would be heard by others. Back on the warship, Sakazuki was healing his wounds while thinking about what the Ghost Spider said before. The Ghost Spider's loyalty is beyond doubt, but how to say it? The dragon is barely a friend, and he pours dirty water on him. Not very open and upright. Secondly, he also scruples garb. Non-toxic, not a husband. Gradually, Sakazuki had made a decision in his heart. In this cannibalistic world, it is indeed difficult to survive if it is not cruel. Moreover, the Ghost Spider is right. The dragon killed Colonel Jeremy. It seems to be for him to get rid of his worries, but if you think about it, it is actually not the case. Jeremy left the record, nothing more than fearing that he would kill the donkey. From the moment he collected the money, in fact, he had no retreat. He could only continue to follow Sakazuki all the way, because this was hundreds of millions of Baileys. If the money bursts out, he will be enough for a colonel to die several times, so as long as he is not crazy, he will definitely not do that. What made Sakazuki even more dissatisfied was that Long said that this Jeremy left evidence and records, but after returning to the warship, he asked the Ghost Spider to search carefully, but found nothing. Obviously, either there was no record, or it was taken away by the dragon. He is more inclined to be the latter. If the dragon takes it away, then his purpose is self-evident, and while the dragon killed Jeremy, it also killed his 5 subordinates, with the dragon's ability. Even if he doesn't kill these 5 people, he is fully capable of retreating with his whole body, and his purpose for doing this is open to question. After making the decision, he immediately called the Ghost Spider over, and the 2 began to discuss the specific details. After all, if this kind of thing is not done in a more detailed manner, it will be easy for people to see the flaws. After staying on this island for a day, Sakazuki and the others went back on the road and soon returned to naval headquarters. The battle with the dragon is a fate, so Sakazuki's injury cannot be fully recovered in a day or 2. His body is tied with strong gauze, and even part of his face is blue. The armed defense is indeed very good. Strong, but not omnipotent. At the same time, the strength of the dragon is really strong, and Haki is not much weaker than him. But one thing Sakazuki can be sure of is that the dragon's injuries will only be heavier than him. The news that Sakazuki and the Ghost Spider returned to the headquarters was notified yesterday, so when Sakazuki and the others first entered Marineford, they were spotted. When they arrived at the port, they were already greeted. Sakazuki Vice Admiral, the Marshal invites you to go to the meeting room immediately, and he will be waiting for you there. They were greeted not by ordinary Marine soldiers, but by a group of serious-looking generals wearing Marine justice coats. There were a total of more than 20 generals. The leader was a surprisingly Marine Vice Admiral. After seeing Sakazuki, there was none. A word of nonsense, he said his purpose directly. Marine, as the largest military force under the world government, is naturally a very well-structured unit with countless departments and branches. At this time, the team that appeared in front of Sakazuki in them was definitely not the majority of naval headquarters. Scene. Military Investigation Department. This group of generals is the most unpopular department of naval headquarters. Its main responsibility is to investigate the soldiers who violated military discipline among Marines. Most of those who fall into their hands have no good end. It was this group of people who came to meet him and others. The faces of Sakazuki, Ghost Spider and others were very ugly. Sakazuki said coldly, "Let's go." However, the headed vice admiral suddenly reached out and stopped Sakazuki and others, and said, "Excuse me, Sakazuki Vice Admiral, the Marshal only stated that he has summoned you and the Ghost Spider Rear Admiral, and the rest must go back with us for investigation." "What did you say?" "The person who investigated me, who gave you the right." Sakazuki stopped abruptly, stared at the person with cold eyes, and asked. The Vice Admiral took out a piece of paper in a hurry and said, "This is an order issued by the Marshal, please look at it." Sakazuki took it and looked at it seriously, his face getting more and more ugly. The Ghost Spider persuaded from the side, "It's boring to pester with them." Sakazuki snorted very uncomfortably, and said, "If you let me know that you have done bad things to my people, I will never give up." The Marine Vice Admiral also said in a cold tone, "Sakazuki Vice Admiral, you should first manage what you are saying. Anyone who violates discipline will definitely be punished." This person's tone was full of warnings. Obviously, he had received some news beforehand. Otherwise, even if their department is very powerful, they would never use this tone on Sakazuki, the hottest Vice Admiral in the Marine. Lucas, you go with them. People who are optimistic about us, no matter what happens, you must tell me the truth afterwards, Sakazuki told Lucas. Lucas also knew that this time the matter might be a bit serious, so he immediately replied, "I know, you have to be careful too. Let's go." The Vice Admiral left most of them. He took 2 people and followed Sakazuki and the Ghost Spider. "Be careful when you can speak. Just follow what we said before and don't explain too much." On the way, Sakazuki whispered to the Ghost Spider, and the Ghost Spider nodded. After Sakazuki and the others left, the people from the Military Investigation Department immediately asked Sakazuki's private troops to disembark from the ship. After everyone left, the Marine soldiers in the harbor immediately started talking. What happened? How could someone from the Military Investigation Department escort Sakazuki Vice Admiral? Although Sakazuki Vice Admiral is very strict, he shouldn't do anything bad. The Military Investigation Department was dispatched no matter what, and he was still at the port of the headquarters. It seems that something big is going to happen. Sakazuki is Admiral's most powerful competitor. If something happens at this time, then Sakazuki Vice Admiral is usually used to being arrogant. This time I will finally be out of luck, hehe. Sakazuki Vice Admiral looks like he was injured, and I don't know what happened. Sakazuki is definitely a very influential and well-known person in naval headquarters, especially after becoming a candidate for Marine Admiral a few months ago. His popularity has greatly increased, and he is almost the default next Marine Admiral. But it is such a favored person who was escorted away on the spot by the Marine Military Investigation Department in full view. Naturally, it will inevitably arouse everyone's discussion and consternation.